I'm pale gray, all dust and fade. When I call for you, all I hear back is pain. Every song must end, even diamonds fade. When the darkness comes, I count up my mistakes. We were the thunder and the lightning, burn fire started from the spark. I would spend it just to watch you twirl. It was us against the world. You were the rain falling on my skin. Yeah, I was dying when you pulled me in. I was your rebel and you were my girl. It was us against the world.
Strangest addiction. I could say I'll quit without any conviction. Broke my own heart this time for believing that a ghost could find a body alive that hasn't seen the other side. So don't call me, I'll find something to escape my mind. What's the cause when there's no love lost between us? So burn the letters, there's a tragedy in every ember. In every ember. In every ember. In every ember. There's a tragedy in every You are my strangest addiction. I could say I'll quit without any conviction. Broke my own heart this time for believing that a ghost could find a body alive that hasn't seen the other side. So don't call me, I'll find something to escape my mind. There's a tragedy in every ember. What's the cause when there's no love lost between us? So We stand and watch the world go up in flames. We fight for love until we die in vain. When the sky is getting dark and we're broken in our hearts, when we build our own demise, from the ashes we will rise. When the world is falling down, will you be my solid ground? When the world is falling down, will you be my solid ground? Be my solid ground. We look off the edge till the waves come crashing in, and we say our goodbyes to the tides that might have been. When the sky is getting dark and we're broken in our hearts, when we build our own demise, from the ashes we will rise. When the world is falling down, will you be my solid ground? When the world is falling down, will you be my solid ground?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are back for the final best of ones. 4 teams, 2 games, and a bunch of fun in Oceania. I'm joined, well, my name is Papa Pike. I'm joined with my good friend Casual. Casual, how are you doing this afternoon,
Hello.
evening? What are we doing? What time
Afternoon,
is it?
evening, night, whatever it is, 6 p.m. We're all around the world. We're casting, we're streaming to everyone. Who knows who's in chat? So, regardless, it's a lovely time. Pike, there we go. Cover all bases to be here. And
You
like you
covered
said,
everything.
covered everything and going to cover a whole lot more as we come up. It's too exciting. Can't contain my excitement. It's going to be awesome. Great night.
I've been asking to be on Mcom for so long. Ever since I saw that they
Me as
started
well.
doing it, I've just been like, come on, guys, come on, come on,
Yeah.
come on, give
Yeah.
daddy some butter, just let me, just come on, I want to taste it. And now they got me in for the final one. I was just like, you know what, they're looking after me. So big shout out to all of Mcom guys, absolutely doing some amazing things throughout OS and heading into the amateur scene. I'm looking forward to an OCS sort of coming to Oceania. Casual, would you be keen to see an OCS happening?
Oh, super excited. And there's so many great ideas that have been floated around. So really it's that whole fish in a barrel technique, right? Everyone's just putting in their best ideas, whatever they think might work, and then it's just up to, people with the talent, with the means, with the resources to pluck an idea out and make it happen. So we're still in that really fun, exciting stage where, the possibilities are endless. But we're definitely coming to that stage where we might see some really exciting things actually being formed now. And part of it is what Mcom are doing right now with these Iron to Plat players. I think as far as Iron to Plat goes, Pike, we've casted a few of them together now. There's never really anything been like this. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a different vibe here, and I think the players can feel it, and it's going to lead to really exciting games and to a really, really exciting and bright future.
Yeah, we know this is like the trials, right, Casual? And
Yeah,
I totally
yeah.
agree with you that there is a new energy to this, right? Like we're starting to see talent really starting to push forward. I think
Mm.
MCOM, we've got other organizations coming out in the limelight, just doing fantastic things, trying to boost the scene up. And honestly, I can say from someone who loves being on camera, being casting for all you guys, being the host of the fun events, it's starting to happen. Like we're starting to
Oh
see some
yeah.
movement. People
Mm,
want to see Oceania doing more. So
yeah.
when we see MCOM holding these tournaments, I love it. But let's just get ready for these teams, right? We've got these
Get
awesome
into
teams
it.
on the line. I want to talk about this first game that we're going to do. So it is two
Yeah.
games, guys.
Let's do it.
But let's break them down. It's MCE Starcasters versus the MCE Knights. Now, I've seen Knights play before, but with a
Mhm.
different roster. Let's talk about some highlighter players. Anyone you got on your mind?
Yeah, so for the Knights, we've got a really interesting roster for me, selfishly, from my POV, because I don't know a lot of
Mm,
these players. So really, a lot of my notes have come through talking since I landed in MCOM. Like you said, we've
mm,
been knocking on the door for a while. Since I was allowed in the MCOM house, I've been talking to absolutely everyone to find out. And it's actually, just because I don't know them, doesn't mean that these players aren't prominent. We've got people, my biggest one that comes out to me is Kelsey. So this is their
mm.
top laner for Knights, and on Raisy's tier list, which obviously is the Bible, it is our gospel that we lead by here at MCOM. Raisy's tier list, Kelsey is at the tippity top. He's reached that summit, and not to say that he's not got any potential left. So your classic carry top player looks to press those individual advantages and bring them over to the rest of the map, to the rest of his team. But it's not all about him. You've got Misano, who, looking at the current ranked season, there's not a lot there going on, but he's played a different role previously. What that tells me, Pike, is he's got a lot of awareness for what his other teammates want to do. And as a jungler, it's really important to have that skill of predicting what your teammates are going to do, as you're entering their lane, having that outside knowledge. So that'll be a really big resource for them. And across the map, mid lane to bot lane, just some really consistent, solid players doing their jobs.
I love that. Like, it's nice to see that they're like some highlighter players. Like, I think we even got given like a tier list, right?
We
And
did. We did.
Kelsey is looking right up the top. Like, he is
He's
at the
up
A
there.
tier considered
Yep.
for them, which is
Yep.
fantastic. You got quite a strong roster so far. Because if
Big time.
MCOM's giving these guys some really big names, I love that. But we can't just focus on one team. Let's
We
go
cannot.
focus on Starcasters, because in this team themselves, I've got some good mates that I've known for quite a while that I want to
Yeah.
shout out. I think Korean Weeb, who is going to be versing Kelsey in that top lane,
He
is going
is.
to be the matchup of the day, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Okay, all right, big claim. And look, as a top laner myself, I feel like you're gonna get the sense of when a two top laners gonna really butt heads. Is it gonna just be that farming lane? Are we not gonna see much, or are we gonna see a lot of action? And I think you've absolutely hit the nail on the head. For Starcasters versus Knights, I can't think of any matchup that's gonna be more or less volatile. Like, both of these top laners are super cocky. They're super confident in their abilities, which is fantastic. But now we come to the stage, right? Now we come to actually putting
Mm,
that to action, putting it to work, right? A lot of words have been thrown out, but now we're actually seeing them prove their bill. What's interesting for me for this top matchup, which I think we'll have to keep in mind if we are going to call it the matchup of tonight,
mm,
is the different styles. I mentioned that Kelsey loves that carry style, the split pusher, the lane dom, the aggression, right? Pressing those early advantages, translating them to the map. Troy's a bit interesting, Korean Reap. He likes to sort of sit back. He's not really fussed or doesn't really care about winning lane. And that's actually the sign of a top laner who really understands not only the meta right now, but their own limits. And so I wonder if we'll see a situation where Kelsey might overstep and if Troy's able to capitalize by being able to play back, playing a bit more reserved. So it'll be really interesting to see which way it turns. Is it going to be Kelsey's with all of the
mm,
aggression, or is it going to be
mm.
more slow pace, which is what Korean Weeb might want?
And it all comes down to just that perfect laning, right? Like it's
Yeah.
all about managing that. Like especially the Iron to Plat tournaments, you're not going to see that absolute peak performance, but you're going to see a good example of it, right? Like these
Mm,
guys are out here to play their best. That's what
mm,
we want to see is people putting their
mm.
best foot forward. But before we get into the game, guys, which I promise it is on us there, let's talk about some other players because we've
Yep.
also got Red, Ease Life, Tempest, and Seeker,
Yep.
who's also been on MCOM for a little bit playing
Yep.
in this team. Let's break these guys down a little bit more. Any highlighted names you like there?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, anyone who knows me won't be surprised about who I'm going to talk about first, and that is Red in the jungle. He's not only
Mm.
one of my closest friends outside of League and in life, but a player I have personally played with for a very, very long time, but more importantly, been watching. I've watched him grow, I've watched him develop. He manages to balance his way through the jungle really, really well, regardless of the meta. And how does he do that, you might ask? That's
Mm.
because of his champ pool. He would, arguably,
Mm.
in my opinion, in Iron to Plat, in the whole community, he will have the largest arsenal in terms of draft. And that's such a luxury to have as a coach or an analyst when you've got Red on your team, is his
Mm.
ability to be flexible, his ability to match what his team needs. And we saw this last night in their scrims, and I'm not going to leak those results,
Oh,
but it was
can't.
very, very very, very evident, right, how Red was able to adapt to his team. So that's what we'll be looking out for him, is his flexibility in draft and his adaptability throughout the game. Really, really strong. And moving on, Easy Life actually, I think, might be one of the best unique and individually performing mid laners throughout the trials. I'm not sure where he sits in the tier list, Pike, but for me, I think he's looked the strongest from what I've seen in terms of laning phase. He does drop off towards the mid and late game in terms of team fighting, but they never really draft him for team fighting anyway. So it's not like you find a really big issue if that actually happens.
Yeah. Well,
so yeah.
Casual, we're heading into Champ Select. The game is on the way. Let's kick this off as we're seeing the picks and bans coming through for these teams. My good friend Kriya, we're able to kick it off for us, but we're seeing some good bans straight off the bat. Camille and Lissandra, are they target bans?
Yeah, so I think Camille probably is. You look at the meta right now for top, you don't see a lot of carry champs being prioritized outside of pro play. You think of things like the Fiora, the Cassante, things like this. Camille is something that's never been in the spotlight for me, but has always remained strong. And so when things aren't going to be laid out onto the table, you're not going to play things like the Jax or the Renekton, you take away things like the Camille, because now you don't have that ability to naturally counter it. And Camille is such a snowbally champ, and you see that across the map. I think for the rest of these bans right now, I'd have to say they're target. I don't see any of those champions in the meta. So you've got to then assume, right? The natural assumption is we're taking it away from someone who is very, very proficient at them and leaving them to the first pick. And it's going to be a Tristana.
Look, I'm actually pretty happy with this Tristana pick. I think we even talked about this previously before off camera. Tristana is so strong at the moment. Not only can she just clear waves, but she's been really proficient in mid lane. So I'd be curious to see whether she is actually flexed mid lane or if she is going to go into that strong AD carry role where she's going to be paired with probably, I'd say, something like a nice Nautilus, something with a strong engage, or even potentially like a Lulu that could give them a lot more, because we have seen in Pro Pay, Zeri and Lulu is very proficient. We've also seen Lucian Nami. So it'd be interesting if we get something like that. Depends on what these players are keen for. But we got a Vladimir and then a Sejuani being picked up on Redside. What are your takes on that, Casual?
Yeah, it's an interesting choice here. I feel like when you see a team first pick an AD carry, you now have the option on Redside as 1-2 to then pick your bot lane. You not only get to have the option to take away a support from them, something like a Leona or a Nautilus that you'd like to pair with Tristana, but also gain yourself priority in what you were saying, a Zeri Lulu or a Lucian Nami. So they choose not to opt for that, and they go for the Vladimir and Sejuani. Now, what's really interesting is that they're both flex picks, and right now, outside of the Leona, they've also got a couple flex picks there, so we really can't be too sure where things are going in draft. And the reason I say Blueside have a flex pick is this Tristana right now, a lot of people are taking them into the solo lanes, Pike, especially the mid lane. It's actually a really strong and viable pick. Easy Life, I know, has played a few games in solo queue of it before. So while, yes, I believe that Tristana is going towards Tempest, we still can't be confirmed at all. And because it's been left up, they're actually going to opt for the Jax into the Scion. Which I really, really like. I think when Jax is on the table, you either have to ban it or you have to take it. It's as simple as that. I don't like a meta where you have such forced black and white, right or wrong thinking, you know? It lacks some type of creativity. But at the end of the day, we're here to win. And so we pick the things that's strong, something that's going to show us to perform because we are in trials. And they have to respond with a weak side champ like Scion, and suddenly all of that top side prio. You get a little bit worried if you're on the blue team right now when something like that gets locked in.
Well, I think we're going to talk about these other picks because I love that we talked about Jax this time. We've got some bans coming in now too, heavily targeted on the blue side for AD carry. But it is actually, I believe, a Vladimir in the mid lane versus the Tristana in the mid, which I'm actually curious to see what they decide to pair with that Leona down the bot lane. But we're looking at a really strong front line coming out of blue side. But it depends on what we can see from Red to actually cooperate and turn that around as they do lock in the Sivir after some really good jungle bans, because we've got Elise, Vi, and then we got the Xayah Twitch being banned out. I like this Sivir pick, honestly. Even into any other AD carry, really strong wave clear. Late game's quite good. We know that the IE changes have been really hectic for a lot of champions, including Tristana. So Sivir's a fantastic pick here, but it depends what they decide, and it is Kai'Sa.
Yeah, so it looks like I was right in my prediction that Tristana will be going mid. Of course, we already knew that, but now confirmed for us as the Kai'Sa is locked in. What's interesting for Redside, you mentioned about their bans with the least 5, but then they pick Sivir. And for me, Pike, Sivir is something that naturally counters both Elise and Vi. So that tells me that Sivir must be Comfort. And while I don't know a lot of the players on Redside, I have to just use that as a sort of preference, as to go, okay, sure, we're on Comfort right now. Speaking of being Comfort or not, Red, we did mention, has a very fantastic champ pool. I've known him for pretty much all of my life on League. Fiddlesticks is not a champion he plays, or at least something I personally haven't seen a lot of. What's really interesting about Fiddle though, Pike, is he's not very mechanically intensive, so you don't need a
Mm.
lot of games to pop off on Fiddle. What you do need is really good map awareness and really good pathing, and that's
Mm.
something that I would always put all of my eggs in the basket of when you're looking at a jungle like Red.
Well, it comes down to as well as like Fiddlesticks being that level 6 champion. We all know there's those level 6 champions that you're not really using your full kit to its absolute essential part without being
Mm,
level 6. Fiddlesticks needs that Crow Storm to really have an impact in team fights, hopping over these walls, getting it off, probably looking at a Predator Fiddlesticks, most
yeah,
likely being able to
yeah,
run to these
maybe,
lanes
yeah.
and chase people down. But
Mhm.
I'm curious to see how it's paired into the Sejuani, who we've sort of seen being a really strong staple, even into last year, into Split 2 for a lot of organizations and pro scene. Sejuani being so impactful, being a mega tank, but having a lot of lockdowns. So I feel like because of Sejuani's kit, she's going to probably fare a little bit better into the Fiddlesticks. Because if Fiddlesticks doesn't fear the right person, it could be game over. Because if he
Yeah.
doesn't get the right one, if he doesn't get the Siva, or doesn't even get the Vladimir potentially, these champions are just going to keep running at them. You can see Red Team just wants to keep moving forward. You've got the Fisher
Yeah.
coming off Braum. Siva's got her ultimate. She's going to be running at you with everyone. I'd have to be concerned, but again, you can't knock back that this Tristana is probably going to run this lane early, as Vladimir wants a bit of time to scale up, get some items, get a little bit of maybe even a Magi's if he gets fed enough.
Yeah.
Whereas Tristana's just going to be all in, level 2, looking for that early fight, shutting down this Vladimir. But we got to see how the lanes play out. Any predictions, Casual, before we get into this game?
Yeah. Yeah, I've got a prediction. It's pretty boring. I think Redside are just going to smash this game. And I've got a few reasons for that. And mainly it is draft centric. So the only thing that I see working for Blueside right now is what you picked up just at the end there is the winning lane in mid. But that only goes for so long. That goes until about
Yeah.
the 15-20 minute mark. And then Vladimir will have the pro depending on where Tristana's lead kind of emanates from and where she can contain it. The reason I say Redside have so heavily won draft is you're looking at Fiddlesticks who wants to full clear. Right? You're looking at
Mm,
Sejuani, who can very easily invade jungle, but you can only really invade the enemy jungle if you have prior lanes. Now, outside of mid lane, you have prior lanes absolutely everywhere else. You've also got such a strong topside 2v2 compared to blue side. Scion Fiddlesticks cannot compete with something like a Jackson Sejuani. Sejuani's
mm,
passive, mixed with Jax, mixed with lethal tempo, all of these things
yeah.
just spell disaster. That means we're giving up Herald, that means we're potentially giving up plates, and that just leads to snowballing a champ like Jax, who no matter what, no matter how well Korean weeb weak sides will always be outscaled. So that is probably my biggest point of concern for blue side, as well as just the overall better scaling lanes. In each lane, they hard outscale. So it's really a matter for blue team
Mm.
Pike. If they want to win this game, you've got to play really clinically early. You've got to pick the right lanes to snowball. For my eyes, it's mid. But then what do you do with that lead? You'll need to be quick,
Mm.
you'll need to be decisive, because very quickly this game can snowball out of control, and we're looking at the scaly boys on red side to just take it away.
I'm looking for a scaly kind of game and no lizards allowed. Guys, we're going to jump to a short intermission while we load into the game. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be right back.
I'm running away from the past I left behind. I'm looking for answers, but I'm blinded by the light. I'm lost in the music and I stay here for the night. I promise I'll be gone in the morning, out of sight and out of mind. Out of sight and out of mind. running, but your legs are standing still. It's like you're stuck in a nightmare, but you keep doing it for the thrill. Well, this is reality, you only live it once, so wake up from your dream. But just for tonight, let the lines get blurred, let your thoughts be free, let your thoughts be free.
Yeah, you told me I would have to wait. After all these conversations would result in nothing. Wish my
And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the first game of the night out of two. We got the Starcasters versus Knights. Now, we got a little bit of info on this as well, don't we, Casual, about these two teams.
do.
I think we got to talk about the leaderboard overall for the Mcom trials right now, right? Let's break that down. Who's probably the favorite in this game?
Okay, so let's break it down. Easy question to start us off. The favourites have to be the Knights Pike. Right now, they are sitting at 2-0 in the leaderboard. Now, obviously, not a lot of games have been played. However, best of ones, there's enough to tell, I would say, from a minimum of about 2 games of where a team's going to progress, how they've been looking. Because, of course, they've been scrimming in between that as well, and we'll get to those scrims in a moment. So, Knights are sitting at 2, and then Starcasters out of 4. They're sitting at 3rd place right now, tied with Cavalry at 1 win and 1 loss. So, if you had to purely just look at that and nothing else, yes, you would believe in the Knights to take home this win. However, Starcasters, I mentioned those scrims briefly just before, and I was talking to you about how successful Starcasters were in their scrim despite sort of some issues and some sort of, how would I call it, a bit of birthing problems in terms of getting to know each other, because I think Starcasters themselves have gone through a few iterations of what they've looked like in terms of a roster, and that obviously leads to synergy issues that another team, say like Knights, may not have because they've gotten used to playing with each other. So, few things to consider, but overall, I'll probably be looking at the Knights in terms of form to take home this game.
Yeah, I want to quickly just touch on something real quick before we jump into a little bit more of these teams. I want to look at the pathing real quick. So there was the leash going over to Redside, but Fiddlesticks actually getting the leash from top. Are we looking at an early, potentially like a level 3, level 4 gang from Fiddles down bot? Because they're playing very aggressive.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, we're seeing so far all of these lanes, including jungle, sort of telegraphed in what they're supposed to do. We see early Prio for the Tristana in the mid lane, and we see Fiddle pathing away from the lane he wants to play for. Now, in this game, it makes sense that you want to play away from the Scion lane. It's pretty much decided in draft that Scion is not the win con. You need to snowball your lanes, especially if you get outscaled, which in this game I believe they do. So it makes sense to see Fiddle path towards the bot lane. However, Pike, in terms of a level 3 or gank, 3, 4 camping, I doubt it. I think Red is smart enough to know that he wants to full clear this game. That also depends on how bot lane will play, and right now we're looking at some pretty average, pretty even sort of trading in terms of no one is getting an insane lead bot, and that doesn't lead to any windows of opportunity for Redside to actually make a play, which won't actually give them any sort of opening or any sort of weakness for Red to capitalize on. So he'll get that CS. And we see Sejuani on the opposite end doing the exact same thing, actually ahead in the clear right now, or maybe just behind, not too sure, because obviously Fiddle can double camp, Sejuani doesn't have that luxury. But Korean Weeb, on the other hand, is opted to get ganked, and he can be dove as well because of that Sejuani passive, so it does need to be careful. Lane state isn't great for it, as they do jump onto each other, but a little bit of noodle fighting at the moment in the top lane, which is what we love to see.
Oh, look, I like a bit of Korean food. That's why it's Korean weeb if we're talking about noodles.
Yeah.
But no, look, at the end of the day, I think Sejuani already looking mid. You already mentioned that they want to get this Vladimir head. We didn't get to talk about this, but Vladimir is actually a bit of a pocket pick for Sharky at the moment. Simply because he's been playing this very heavily on his Smurf account. So obviously he's been putting a bit of time into it, building a bit of a performance on top of it too. So I think he's well prepared into this Tristana matchup. I think he knows how to play it. He knows how he wants to sort of take the lane. So I'm really keen to see how he goes to play this out, because you can already see Tristana was getting very aggressive, but his healing is just going to be all the sustain he needs throughout this game. But let's break these teams down. Let's break these lanes down, right? Let's move down to the bottom lane, and then we'll work our way up. So let's talk about the Leona Kai'Sa versus Braum Sivir. Who's got the advantage there?
Yeah, look, it's really hard to tell because it kind of depends on outside and external factors. I'll probably be ended up getting cut off depending on how this Tristana wants to play this cheeky invade. May just be looking at division, so hopefully I can continue. But yeah, so Leona into Braum. So Braum really loves this matchup purely because Leona wants to go forward, and Braum not only just into Leona, loves a champion that wants to come into him. And you can see that even by his rune choice, taking the Guardian. So he wants to stay close to his AD carry, and they want to play back, they want to kite backwards. Champion like Sivir really loves to kite backwards as well, due to the use of that ultimate, and one of her key abilities obviously being that spell shield to avoid the stun. So while I don't think that Redside will gain any crazy leads, they'll do their job by being able to negate what Blueside want to do in this lane. And just in general, even outside of the, the isolated 2v2, Blueside need this Kai'Sa to snowball. So it's even better to have picked something as safe as Sivir Braum. So I really, really like the drafting choice. Obviously, as you mentioned earlier, it's one thing to pick the champs. You also need to play them in the right styles. Hold on.
Yeah.
Ooh.
No, slightly.
Yeah, very good.
But no, I could tell there wasn't going to be anything. That rocket jump was ready to go. Couldn't go on that one. But okay, so I like that. But I want to talk more. Let's talk about the late game here now. So Kai'Sa wants to scale up. She's done a really good job so far, just slow sort of shoving this wave, but didn't get the drop into the tower, but looked for a cheeky back. Has come back with a noon quiver. Which, honestly, and I want to point this out for all the viewers out there as well watching these games, these do not actually feel like platinum players. If I can be honest, these guys feel like they're playing at a really good caliber. It just goes to show that maybe good communication, a good team on your back, you can play at a really high tier, even if you don't have the mechanical skills. So I'm actually really enjoying this because it is a bit slower. This feels a bit more like the LCO. It feels like the LCS. It is all about the micro interactions and the micro plays. So I'm really enjoying this though. Casual?
That's right. I mean, it feels like LCO unless Why Not's on the team,
Yeah.
and then you're seeing constant fighting no matter what, and it's super entertaining, and suddenly we're in the LPL without the hands. But anyway, I digress, right? For me, honestly, honestly, don't blame. No, but look, we might even end up seeing that team fight. You might have caster cursed them because they do take the dragon. But no, they're actually giving it away, right? So again, those little, what did you call them? Those microtransactions, those micro sort of ways of interacting with each other. And it can be a few things. It can be, honestly, like you mentioned and like you implied, an inherent understanding of what your job is in this game. Sivir Braum, their inherent understanding from what we've seen and from what they should know realistically is to survive, right? So that means we can give up things early, but it could also be a bit of nerves though. I feel like you didn't really mention the mental side of things, right? This is the final day of the best of ones, There's a bit of pressure on here, mainly for Knights as well. They want to end the best of ones with a win streak. They want to be absolutely lossless, That is coming in such red hot form. So it might mean that you're a bit scared to sort of flip those fights. And top lane's just looked the same all game, hasn't it? Just slapping each other. But Troy is doing a good job of surviving. Will actually retain a CS lead once he is able to cash in those minions. But so far, despite there not being a lot of action, I think really, if we're honest, it does really favor Redside because they do want to scale.
I think you're about to counter curse it as we are going in big Fiddlesticks. Crow Storm comes in, but first blood going over to Korean Weeb, doing a fantastic job securing that one. Again, this is what I was talking about. Fiddlesticks is the level 6 champion, Casual.
He is. He wants to power farm and he wants to look for those plays. And again, like I mentioned earlier and like we were saying, it's all about that awareness and the pathing, right? You've got to have a really good timer and window to create those ganks. And what a perfect way to do it than have your weak side top laner perfectly bait the dive from Jax he gets too cocky, too aggressive, knowing that he's won all those trades, ends up baiting himself in, and secures a really, really important first blood. Yes, it did go to the Scion, not someone you want to generate all of your gold lead, but any way to shut down this Jax, maybe delay, you know, that big power spike, the Sunderer, the Bork, by a couple minutes, could actually prove up really, really huge later on in this game.
But I am looking at a cheeky potential gank, as it looks like Sharky wants to tower dive Tempest here, and it's looking like they are definitely going to do it as they're pushing in the wave. Big Fisher goes down, uses the killer instinct out, Flash comes out as the pool goes down too, but Tempest played that exceptionally casual. And here comes Ease Life, he's looking to get a big rocket jump in, going for onto that. Can he do a little bit more? No, he's taking flight. There's the Flash again, bit of a questionable one if you ask me, and they all get out alive.
Okay, health bar's so low, you can only imagine the comms park. Like, are you kidding me? No one died? How? How did no one die? Like, it can be so tilting at the same time, but yes, I'm so glad you mentioned Tempest, because that's a really scary dive to play. I think, realistically, not to sort of overanalyze, but I think if Vlad was able to hold a bit of patience in using that ultimate, wait for his bot lane to actually come towards, start the dive together, I think Kaiser has no way out, even with the ultimate. Ends up having to use both sums, which is in a way some sort of a loss, because now you again have this 4-minute window where it's going to be really, really hard to make those aggressive plays you want to do. But considering the way that started, I think really impressive for Tempest to get out. And his team obviously came in to deny any further sort of aggression. Easy Life, obviously, unlucky to get a kill. But it goes to show that he can just find that first move over Vlad. We're only about 10 minutes into this game, so that'll continue for the next about 10 minutes, I'd say. But you'd want more than just to deny a play. You want to be making the play. So I wonder where our eyes will sort of divert to as we see Red sort of come up into the mid lane. Maybe smelling this Sejuani, who's honestly been looking mid quite a few times this game, just hasn't been able to find it. This could be it.
Ooh, good little cleanse coming out, actually. We didn't pick up on that. The cleanse has been put in, but here comes Fiddlesticks. The Crow Storm is overshot as he has to flash forward, but there goes Braum. He's putting the shields up, trying to keep them alive. Leona drops down the sun, trying to do some damage out of it too. Sana taking his life, did a really good job putting out some damage as he does. The pool goes down. Code is the next line of fight as they're going in. Kaiser picks it up, using the shots, but they're still going. It's a double kill. Can Blue Liquor be the taken one that gets the big buster? And it's a triple kill, Casual.
Oh, it's a triple kill for Tempest. And honestly, yes, well played to the Kaiser, but honestly, credits and hands clapping towards Easy Life. Manages in that final moment of that fight to rocket jump behind Blue Liquor and then insects him right back forward towards his team with the buster shot. So really, really impressive. A bit of a cheeky mechanical play, you know, a little bit funny where it's like maybe not entirely needed, but damn, it looked cool. So overall, I feel like 2 seconds before that all happened, Pike, I was a bit nervous for Blue Team saying, hold on.
Oh, here we go. Korean Weaver's being aggressive.
Ooh, Flash,
getting the ward down. Ooh, okay.
Yeah, Flash burn for the Jackson. It's so funny because right before Korean Weave went for that play, I was about to say I'm loving the aggression out of Blueside when it looked like they were content with scaling. Something's clicked, something's gone on, a button's been pressed, and suddenly they're just executing these team fights so beautifully. I didn't get to mention it in the pre-game, Pike, but what I have noticed with Starcasters is while their individual players may not be the shiniest, so far from what I've seen and from what we've seen this game, to be honest, their team play is by far outshining most of these teams right now.
Look, right now, I love that. That's exactly what I want to hear because, well, okay, I'm sorry, Korean Weave wants to go in for this fight too. Counter-Strike has been launched, but if he sees full health, Sign's not going to die. But no, I want to talk about what you mentioned before we even got into the game, that Red was this fantastic jungler who does an awesome job. I've seen nothing but a fantastic game out of him. Maybe he hasn't been there for every fight, but for every fight he's been in, he's had an impact. Yes, he might have whiffed that Crow Storm, but he still flashed off it. He's like, no, we need to get that damage off. And now they're 5-5-0, which is fantastic. Fiddlesticks being 0-0-5-2, picking up Sork Boots. He's still got his stopwatch and the second dragon. This man is putting in work for his team. 100% kill participation is big as he wants to go for another Crow Storm. He's going for a bit more. There goes the sun and everything happens. Tempest 4-0-0.
my god, 4-0 on this Kaiser, and it wasn't someone to it was a chatter, it was one of us. I'm not too sure that this game does not work for Blueside unless they snowball the early. They're sitting at 6 kills up to 0 right now, Pike. Talk about a snowball. This isn't a snowball, this is an avalanche. And okay, my bad for maybe shouting out another org, it is still Mcom. Regardless, whatever snow analogy you want to use, this is looking like dire straits for the Redside right now. I'm not sure where they're going to go, because where can you look? Kelsey's not winning this matchup anytime soon. Does have Sundera completed, but so look at this. This Scion is not afraid. And Easy Life, yes, he hasn't found all of these kills, but he's still got that Prio, and then this Kaiser. Oh my word. We didn't talk about it as we were talking about this bot lane, but Kaiser, say yes, dug out by the 2v2 of Silverbrawl, but in the isolated 1v1, there's not a lot of AD carries who can jump on you like a Z, one-shot you, and then get out again with invisibility. And Sivir will really, really struggle into that because she can't lay off any damage onto someone she can't see. So 4-0 Kaiser is something that Redside need to deal with, and they need to deal with it now. I'm just not sure how.
Look, it is all about putting the resources where it needs to go. We talked about how Redside had this phenomenal late game scaling and all that. It's still a Kaiser. Kaiser scales pretty hard too. It's a fiddlesticks. If he gets like 2-3 items plus a Rabadon's, that man's going to be in the middle of your fight and causing havoc. You've also got a Scion, the split pushing, I'm not going to say God, that's probably Fiora. She's the split pushing Fiora.
No, he's still pretty good at it.
But still pretty good, right? Like, he's got a lot of pressure. He can be tanky. He can join these team fights from a map away. Like, this team, we said at the start, probably didn't feel right. But these players are showing that it is right. And that is so crucial for how these games need to play out, even in trials. It's not about just picking what's meta. It's picking what you can play well and making it work.
Yeah, 100%. And it really that.
So sorry, another Crowstorm's coming in. They want that fight, and Red picks up his first kill.
Okay, it's a party, baby. Fiddlesticks on the board, surprising the enemy Jax. Kelsey will fall. Hold on, flash use.
Well, but Ease Life is actually going against Masana, but it's such a tanky champion. The Hog is doing his work as Seeker has walked up in a bit of a sticky situation. Could be that the sun's about to be blotted out as they're trying to go in. Ease Life gets pushed back as the Fisher comes down. Nice little micro interaction there, but Blue Liquor picking up Seeker, getting the first kill for that Sivir too.
Yeah, so Sivir on the board, but really well played by Easy to deny the Vladimir engage, and Vlad actually ended up using both some. Sharky invested everything in being able to try and find that bounty onto the Kaiser and pick up Tristana as an entree. Unfortunately, Buster Shot again connects. Really, I thought Tristana ult was kind of just used more as an execute. At least that's how I've used it, but I'm learning things watching this game. Like, Easy Life is using it almost like a Dragon's Rage, like kind of like a Lee Sin jumping around, actually moving plays to where he wants them to be to deal the most damage, and in some cases, like we saw just then, to get out himself and his teammates. So I love the awareness, and what I was going to say before that bot play is the team play. This is such an advertisement for it, isn't it? A lot of players might go into Irons of Plat and be like, okay, well, I need to be the best player at this role. Top lane's the easiest analogy for this because it's the isolated lane, right? I need to beat my laner. I need to beat him into the ground. He needs to be not able to play the game. You know, I'm going to win lane every single game. Well, hold on, not really. And this game is an absolute advertisement for that. You don't need the better individual players. You just need to be the better team. And at the end of the day, that's what it's been. Sitting at just close to a 5k gold lead, a little bit under. Like, they are cruising into the mid game right now, and they needed to be. So I wonder how this game rotates and moves around, because the scaling is still there. It's not like because they're behind, they don't scale. It's going to take, yes, that little bit longer. But all it takes is that one misplay, that one accidental, you know, what's it called? I've lost my train of thought. Initiation, there we go. There's the word. From the Leona of the Fiddle, right? They miss it. They don't have flash to recover like say.
But I'm so sorry, as it looks like they're going in. There's the Fiddles using the Hex rocket going in. Look at the damage. They do whatever they want right now, Casual.
Yeah, I feel like I've got my foot in my mouth because I just said it's important that their engaged lands. Fiddle ult and Leona ult just miss, and they still wipe the floor with this poor Sejuani. Mesana is so confused right now. You go, wait a second, they missed all of their important abilities. I still died? What's going on? I'm so confused. But regardless, no time to complain because the mid lane is being pushed. They are trying their best to take down this tier 3. I hope they don't go for the inhib. I think it's too early in this game. Yeah, they are backing off fantastic. They also used a lot of their key abilities as well, Pike. Know where your limits are, and they do. They might just walk straight towards this dragon. Yes, they haven't set up vision, but they're here first. So how does Redside actually walk in?
No, they just can't at this point. Like, honestly, it's a full team strong. Sejuani's trying to come down. I feel like you're going to be able to shred it just before Sejuani can even get there. But there goes the Fisher. They're looking for a bit of a fight. Can they do a little bit more? Blue team does get the Dragon. Third Dragon, we are on the Soul as the fight breaks out. Killer Instinct, but it's a big knock-up from Scion, doing so much. What is the damage? Casual as Fiddlesticks gets a double kill. They're looking for more. This could be the ace as Tempest takes out Jax, and they're looking so strong.
Yeah, that is just incredible. That is arguably one of the best team fights I have ever seen out of an Iron to Plat team. So well documented, so well played. The patience to, at first, right? The call so clearly was, let's finish this drag. It's our soul point, we finish it, and then we fight. They so carefully then use step by step, almost like a surging on someone, making sure they are so ever careful about where they position their AD carries. We saw Tristana and Kai'Sa sitting back, the very chunky not butt line, the front line.
The butler.
The butler. Where's the butler? Did he
Alfred.
I don't know. But the Silent Leona, they're too thick, they're too strong is my point. They can't cut through. And crucially, I don't know if you saw it, the Buster shot again. I feel like we've been talking about Tristana all game, but you can't not when you're playing it so damn good. Again, knocking back the Jax as he flashes in. The Counter-Strike stun misses all 4 members of the Starcasters. It's just a clean fight from there. Jax is completely blown up. 0-3 now. It's going to take so long to scale into this game. And right now, I don't see a way for them to lose it. Anything can happen, but if they're going to play fights like this, yeah, they'll take this best of 1, but they might be taking everyone else as well. What a scary game to watch if you're one of the other MCOM teams in this tournament right now. What a performance.
You got to be nervous with how these guys are playing. It's like I said, I called it before that these guys are not playing like Iron to Plat. They are playing at easy, really D plus, even above. These guys have the coordination. The one death is on the support, and she sacrificed her life. Unsung heroes, thank you support, we love you, of League of Legends. Sacrificed it, knew that that was how it needed to be played, is, okay, if I die for the team, you guys survive. And look, Sion can just sit in this bot lane, he can do whatever they want, and the Baron is up, and they want to go on it.
Yeah, right now, my worry for Redside is you just can't contest anything because you just lack damage. Sivir sitting on a mythic and just a crit cloak, and Kai'Sa, once she bases from this Baron, most likely has something like a BF sword, but even opt for the stopwatch, be even that much stronger, that much more obnoxious in fights. Like, not only is there a huge gap there, but there's huge gaps everywhere right now in terms of itemization. It's going to make it really tricky for Redside to actually contest anything. And like we just saw, Baron gone, Kelsey trying to make a play here. Let's see what he can get.
Something. Korean Wheat wants to get out of here, but Sharky's now coming down, pops the ghost. I don't know if he can die though. He's just so tanky. That Frostfire Gauntlet is pretty big, but 5 members strong. Flash. They are hunting for a Scion. The Butler is about to die as they try to give this over to the Sivir, and a good sneaky bit of shutdown gold heading over.
There you go. That's where Troy goes. Guys, can we push top? Their entire team is on me right now. Can we please push top? And so his team does go, yeah, unfortunate for the Scion to be absolutely cancelled in 2 ways. First, that ultimate was beautifully blocked by Kelsey, and then, of course, the Blast Plant knocks him back behind the wall. That was his only means of escape, which is why we saw him dart straight towards it. Hold on, Sejuani, that's not a fake Fiddlesticks, that's a real one. And you can see how difficult it is, Pyke, for them to even walk into her own jungle. They're being suffocated, a bit of strangulation going on in terms of the macro for Blueside. I just don't see this gold lead ever faltering. 10k off this Baron play. That's about a 3-4k Baron power play push in terms of the gold lead. That is so much in terms of an economist's language for how they're going to close out this game. So many key items completed. Fiddlesticks really is full build after he completes that Shadow Flame, because he'll get that stopwatch from the passive of the Inspiration Tree. He's done. He's cooked right now. He doesn't need anything else. Right, the AD carry is beautiful. We've got a Bork even to punish this Sejuani even more. Like the Sejuani hasn't had a hard enough game, Pyke. Like, there's too many things to point out. It's about how they want to close it out. Realistically, they could have been more aggro with Baron, look to finish the game. Maybe they'll just take a soul, run it down mid.
Yeah, look, it is an Infernal Soul, so it's going to be really strong for this team. 280 carries. That's a lot of damage coming out. But let's look at itemization real quick as we're heading into the final fight. But it looks like they're going straight forward. The engage comes out for Sejuani, misses, Sun gets dropped. They just shred the tank. The front liner doesn't get a chance. Fiddlesticks walking up. His Sion is charging down the backside too, looking to do a little bit more blue liquor out on the skim of his teeth, and they're able to take even more as they're just pushing it down. But now, as you can see, second tier tower in the bot lane. As he's going forward, Leona gets the stun. Is going to be enough as Siva is still jumping forward. Gets out just in time. But this team does not want to stop at all, Casual. But Casual, what can they do? What can Redside do to get back in this?
Yeah, I'll be honest, credit to Redside for actually only having one of their players fall there. And of course it's going to be the Sejuani, because Sejuani has to sit at the front of the team. And when you're facing such fed members, you've got no choice but to sort of be the sacrificial lamb, right? So well played to Redside to get out of that. What they will lose is the potential to defend this soul, which is going to make this next fight even harder. So what do? You can't, I don't want to say this, Pike, but I'm not sure you can do anything. I think the game is snowballed too far. Maybe the play is to get Jackson to the side lane, keep his TP, not even play for the sun, but play for some type of gold. You know, bounties are still up. Tier 1 is available top lane, so maybe keep Jax there. Jax without Zhonya's can't really team fight anyway, so I'd like to see Kelsey just being playing for the waves, because the 5v5 is lost. You have to play for the split. You needed Vlad and Siva to be able to compete right now, and so far they're going to need 20 more minutes until they're playable, until they can even touch the front line of this Leona and this Sion. Like, there are so many scary points. I'm worried that the assassins are now becoming the tanks. You know when you get so fed in a game that suddenly you're being one-shot by the people who don't have any damage items? Like, that is how fed. Like, if I had to summarize this game, that's the position we're in. So really, really scary for players like Blue, Liquor, and Sharky to do their job, which is to carry these team fights, to bring home the 5v5. So you have to play for the split. But my worry is by the time Jax gets to the middle of the river, Blue team are going to be on the Nexus, and then what do you do?
Look, okay, let's break it down in a little bit more of a smaller sense then. Okay, so if they can't win, what could they have done better? What could they have focused on? What could they have actually progressively worked towards earlier in the game to not let this team get such a big snowball?
Yeah, alright, well for me it's two things. First of all, Sejuani needed to find better windows to gank. We saw Sejuani waste so much time sitting mid, looking for this Tristana, forgetting that she has this funny little ability called Rocket Jump, which makes it practically impossible. It's not like Masana would have to necessarily misplay, it's just a really, really hard champion to gank. That's why it's so strong in these solo lanes. So first of all, I would have liked the Sejuani to be anywhere else except the mid lane. Unfortunately, that was where they tried to bring in the lead and it just didn't work out. The second thing was to make less plays. If you're going to commit on trying to protect the Vladimir, to cover for him, right? So maybe it's not even a gank, maybe you're just trying to stop Tristana from fighting. It's still great, Pike, but that strategy doesn't work if you still look for fights early. You can give up the first two Drakes, but they gave up the first two Drakes and also team fought and lost. So it's like, you're not really just giving a Drake then, you're giving them like 2k worth in gold. That's just going to snowball out of control. So I wonder if maybe there was a bit of cockiness in sense of, guys, we smashed draft, we're just going to outscale, easy peasy. And they forgot that they still had an early game to play. And they forgot that, you know, this Fiddlesticks, like you mentioned, that Crowstorm can be so deadly if utilized in the right way, which Red's done a beautiful job of. I wonder if their monitors and their eyes just got a little bit sleepy at certain points. I think there needed to be a bit more vigilance in the early game to survive, or find the right angles with Sejuani to snowball one lane. I think they just, it's a case of trying to do too much.
Yeah, I think I 100% agree, but as we're coming into another little fight, this could be the closing out of the game. Easy life, able to just rocket jump out. But no, I think, bang on. I think this Sejuani needed to be far more proactive. We saw that she was hovering around the mid lane, tried to do something. If you can't gank the ungankable lane, gank another lane. Go somewhere else. Like, you could have gone bot. Your team was pushing up too much into this bot lane, looking for tower dives. Let them shove. Get the tower dive. But look, they're just going to jump on top anyway. As there goes the root, it looks like they can go a little bit more. Reds, the Crowstorm's just so big. He's just so massive right now. That was just 2 seconds and he was dead. And Korea Weave doesn't care anyway. He's just like, oh, inhib, I'll take it for free. And it looks like going for as much as they can here. Casual could be the end of the game if they played out right, as Seeker does go forward. He does get the lockdown. There goes the pool, looking for a little bit more. Masana is already taken to half health so quickly. Red gets hit with the Glacial Prison. Is it going to be too much? Zhonya's comes out. It's going to be to keep him alive as they go straight into the backline. Is it going to be too much as they get so much off the back? The 80 carries are clocking them down. And there's the Counter-Strike trying to do everything. Masana's taken out too. Blue Liquor tries to do it. And that looks like it is a triple kill by the looks of it for the Tristana in the mid lane. Absolutely smashing as Ease Life's walking down and about to take it with a lone Braum, the daddy himself, trying to do everything he can. But there's nothing you can do, Casual, as it's just like it's a free win 27-29 is the time of the game, and it is all over Red Rover.
Yep, Starcasters will take this game. Congratulations to them. The best of ones are over. They'll head into the series in red hot form after taking this game 1 versus Knights.
Absolutely crushed it. It's so hard to like not fault them for something. Like, I just don't know. They just played everything so well. Midwest played well. Top was played well. The bot lane was played well. Even Fiddlesticks, the pocket pick that we weren't really expecting, played it well. They just had an answer to everything that they were trying to bring out. So really, really big call out to Starcast because they've got some awesome players on their casual. Is there anything we want to say before we go to an intermission and start prepping for the next game?
Yeah, so I'm really excited to get into this next game, but before we jump in there, congratulations to, honestly, I'd love for there to be an MVP pipe, but it feels a bit like we'd be cheating them if there was one. Everyone played so well. It was a team play, sort of congratulatory, almost achievement scale level series of events. Every team fight clinically performed. Every team fight was clean. They knew what they wanted. The win con was obvious for them. The early leads, while probably unlikely in terms of the isolated draft, the fact that they were able to find it so early in the game was fantastic. It's what they needed to do. So credit to all of them. Kudos for all these different reasons. If I had to point out one person just slightly above everyone else, I think it's obvious, chat. It has to be Easy Life. This Tristana was so clean. Not only made the good plays because everyone made good plays, but he made the fight winning plays. He made the game winning plays, like some seriously stand up moments. So credit to him, but credit to everyone. Starcasters in red hot form. Unlucky for the Knights, a lot for them to review and go back on before the group stage starts. But what a way to start off the night, Pite. Let's go.
Mate, absolutely smashing night. I can't believe it. I 100% agree. Easy Life just crushed it, being in the right place at the right time. That's the difference, if I can be honest. That is the difference between a pro player and a low elo player, is knowing where to be and what to do. And he just played it perfectly. So guys, we are going to take a short intermission. Stay tuned as we prep for the second game. We'll be right back.
I'm running away from the past I left behind. I'm looking for answers, but I'm blinded by the light. I'm lost in the music and I stay here for the night. I promise I'll be gone in the morning, out of sight and out of mind. You know when you keep running, but your legs are standing still. It's like you're stuck in a nightmare, but you keep doing it for the thrill. Well, this is reality, you only live it once, so wake up from your dream. But just for tonight, let the lines get blurred, let your thoughts be free, let your thoughts be free. Out of sight and out of
to nothing. Wish my friends and I could celebrate, but these plans keep falling through because there's always something. Say that you want me when I'm in the room. Then when I ask you, tell me it's too soon. Guess all your words were too good to be true. I'm done waiting, sick of saving all my hope tonight, 'cause your empty promises don't satisfy. No more compromise, 'cause I don't need you to act like we're alright. Act like we're alright. Act like we're alright. Call your number, never pick it up. Even though last week you said we spend the day together. Saying sorry, but I've had enough. It's a toxic situation, you can't make it better. Say that you want me when I'm in the room. Then when I ask you, tell me it's too soon. Guess all your words were too good to be true. I'm done waiting, sick of saving all my hope tonight, 'cause your empty promises don't satisfy. No more compromise, 'cause I don't need you to act like we're alright. Act like we're alright. Too many chances at redemption. Think it's about time I learned my lesson. No more compromise, 'cause your empty promises don't satisfy. Yeah, I'm lost and numb, cold through the touch. I pretend like I don't remember your name. Every masterpiece turns to blasphemy. When I close my eyes, yeah, I still see your face. We were the thunder and the lightning. Burn fire started from the spark. I would spare you just to watch you dwell.
Well, welcome back, Casual, and all our fantastic viewers out there for the second game of the evening. Let's go jump right into it as we got the other two teams looking to play Cavalry versus the Jade Dragons. Casual, are you excited?
Oh, am I excited? This is a matchup to just, some games, you end a night of streaming on, you go, okay, that was all right. The game was pretty meh. Nah, not this time, Pike. These two teams have no choice, I should say, rather than to go straight head to head. And that's just because of the pure quality on both sides, really, looking at both of these rosters. Not so much quality. Well, yes, quality, not all quality, because you've also got some names here as well. You've got some history, you've got some drama, all these different things. We've got to get into it. We've got to jump in. So where do you want to start, really? Which side of the map should we go for as we talk about both of these teams and compare them?
Let's just go one to two, right? We'll go team 1 to team 2. So we're going to start off with Cavalry. We got Imposter, Blazon, Reasons, Worgen, and Seraphic Blade. Let's break it down.
Beautiful.
Real
All right,
short.
well, all right, real short. I'll leave the most entertaining to last. So Blazon and Wargam are two really, really consistent and strong players in this team. Reasons, I would argue, is probably one of the best players on this team, not only as an individual, but as a team player, mainly because of his style, which is usually the control mage he'll opt for. So naturally, that style already good for team play, but he has a really common understanding on it. Been plat for years in a row now, always been in the higher end of plat too. So really, really strong player, amazing pickup for Jade Dragons. And then Seraphic Blade, actually a new addition to this team team, issues with the support previously, which we will get into because of relevance in this series in particular. But Seraphic Blade, really, really strong. Talk about control mages. This guy is one particular style, and those are those enchanters. Really, really prioritizes the karma, which is fantastic for Worgen because he is such that carry 80 carry. Now, I'm talking super, super fast because I had to get to this pike. Imposter is an interesting cat. So this guy very much has a strong sense of self. Let's put it that way if I'm going to be polite. He really, really does think he is the bee's knees. He has it all. Unfortunately, in terms of gameplay, there's a lot to be left desired. So again, we'll be seeing a situation where the words are there, but are the hands there? Are the actions there? Are we going to see it in game? So that'll be Imposter's challenge. And so far, that's pretty much Jade Dragons. Let's jump straight into Cavalry.
Look, before you say that, I just think that's textbook imposter syndrome. So look, fair enough.
There you go. Maybe that's where the name comes from.
That's where it comes from. I think we've nailed it.
Okay.
So let's jump into Team 2 real quick. Cavalry, before we jump into the game as we get ready for it. We've got Aerodynamic, Dollop, Envious of Me, who's my boy. Big kisses, bro. Daya and Sultraline. Let's go.
All right, let's do it. Aerodynamic first. We'll start off in the top lane. A multi-role player, actually in the top side for Cavalry. So Aero and Dollop have been able to swap around multiple places in the map. Mainly Dollop is sat between jungle and top. And Aerodynamic recently has only just started playing top lane, but usually a mid lane player. What's good about him translating to top lane pike is because he was such a carry player in the mid lane. You talk about a control mage, he was the reverse. He's looking for early aggression, he's looking for lane dom, he's looking for prio, and that really, really is perfect for his transition into the top lane because of how strong champions like Fiora, Jax, things like that are. So no guarantee we will be seeing the Irelia, the Camille, those sort of champions in the top lane, potentially, but we'll definitely be seeing that sort of style regardless of what Aero plays, and naturally he's a very strong mechanical player. And then Envious of Me, what is there to say, really? This man's been here as long as the dinosaurs have been in terms of Irons of Plat, and he's always remained fairly consistent in terms of his gameplay. He's always remained humble, of course. He absolutely does not call himself the best Irons of Plat player of all time. He's a very, very humble guy, and is always really strong in the mid lane. And interestingly, reminds me of Red, actually, in terms of his champ pool. He's never afraid to play different things, and for a while he was known as that Malzahar guy. Well, those days are gone, so we've got absolutely no idea what he'll pull out, and that's always so exciting to watch. The bot lane, I will quickly get into. Daya is a new face, not a lot to say except that it is his debut for Mcom, so hopefully we'll see a really, really strong performance out of him. And then Soitraline is actually playing for the Cavalry team, so bit interesting for any Mcom super fans that Soitraline's playing on Cavalry tonight. Reason is, Pike, he used to play on Worgen's team. He was actually Worgen's support, and issues arose throughout gameplay and comms that he actually moved away from that team and is now filling for Cavalry. So we've got a situation where a support and AD carry who are butting heads now get to face off. Really curious how that's going to play out, right?
Oh, I'm so ready for that because I love when you're playing with someone you used to verse, and then you just want to be like, yeah, let's see who dominates more. So I'm really keen to that as the team is getting ready for Champ Select. Let's see what picks and bans are going to look like casual as we're walking in. And they're starting to happen. Now, what are you hoping to see, casual? While we're waiting for some bans, let's talk some predictions. What do you want to see?
Well, what I want to see is some attention put onto the Jax. Last game, we didn't see anyone really recognize the Jax, and while yes, it did look very good in this game one, I don't think that is anything to maybe compare or criticize for the champion itself and its place in the meta. Why I mentioned Jax so strongly, Pike, is both of these top lanes will 100% prioritize it if they are smart. The coaches should be aware of this, and so I wonder how long banning phase can go for before Jax is taken away. Or do Redside have a potential counter pick? They'll leave open the Jax, they'll let Imposter first pick it, take away the Olaf, right? So now Jax is the next step. Maybe that's where they go, but we can't stay at top lane all the time because you've got to go elsewhere, and the bans from Blueside show that. They're going to take away the Udyr and the Silas, which I like. Silas especially because it leaves you a lot more opportunity when it comes to drafting a team fight comp, because a lot of those team fight champions, those 5v5 spike, have such strong ultimates that Silas can completely counter. So get it away. Envy has played it before, like we mentioned in champion pool, and now you've got a lot more flexibility.
Oh, look, I'm really keen to see a bit more flexibility as they ban Orianna, which I feel like is a bit more of a target ban. But that's okay because you need to take those champions that people feel really comfortable on. As Trundle is also banned out. I don't know, they were talking some smack in the chat about that Trundle ban. I think they were talking about Trundle with the Magi's. I thought that was kind of hilarious. But that was kind of nice. Like, it's kind of nice to see these teams having a good bit of banter. They were talking some smack about you casual, so if you want to go back and check that, I probably would. But that's okay, because we love these guys anyway. But I like these bans. We got Udyr, Silas, Trundle, into the Olaf, Orianna, and we wait 2-3 seconds before we get them in. And it looks like it's a Draven. Okay, that's the pocket pick ban against Worgen.
Yeah, it is gone. Worgen's absolute favourite. 1.2 million mastery on this Draven. Absolutely favours it. Leaves open something like the Sejuani just as equal prio in terms of something like the Jax, except you rotate it towards the jungle, right? One of the best junglers right now. If it's able to play the game, we saw in game 1 again, 2 really strong picks in the Jax and Sejuani not worked for how they are played. So it's not enough to just pick the champ, but so far, draft for Blueside's looking really, really strong. It's up to Red now to sort of decide, Park. Do we counter the jungler before the third phase? I would see them like to pick a priority bot lane because you've still got that option on 3. It's not like Blueside are going to pick another jungler, so you still have that full champ pool. You can get a bot lane in. Zeri Lulu, of course, there it is. Looking a lot like what we might see on, on Twitch on maybe a bigger server, bigger stage, LCO, LCK. These players clearly fan of pro play. This is where you'll see sort of a one priority pick for a solo lane, whether that's mid or top lane, especially because you're blue side, so you actually can't really counter pick in draft. Or they might just pick out their bot lane straight away. It might go for something like a Kai'Sa Nautilus, a Kai'Sa Leona, just like we saw in game 1.
Look, I think Kai'Sa Nautilus is going to be so strong. Please don't go Yuumi, the champion. But no, like you said, there's the Kai'Sa Nautilus, such a really strong bot lane, even into a Zeri Lulu. Kai'Sa Nautilus run the game early. So I think that's going to be really massive for this team to sort of put a little bit of love into this Kai'Sa, literally what we saw in that last game. But there's the Fizz being hovered by. I don't know if that's a little homage to me because I'm a Fizz main, or that Envious just knows that. I don't know, but that's okay. I'm concerned about the Zeri Lulu though, if I'm being perfectly honest. And Corki is locked in. Okay, that's a poke lane.
Yeah, it definitely is, and the Corki's really, really nice. So far, my only worry for Redside is their availability in the early game. What can they actually get done, right? You've got a weak side mid laner and a weak side bot. So for blue side, it's really easy to see, like, they've only got so many options now for their top side. For the 2v2, we've already picked away the Sejuani, so they really have an option to snowball their top side with the picks that they go for on blue. However, again, we're looking at a really similar situation, even in terms of the color scheme, because right now, Redside absolutely have the superior scaling.
Oh, look, and as the scaling goes, you want that in these games, but I think the last game, again, if we refer back to that, scaling doesn't mean diddly squat. At the end of the day, these players know how to close out these games. At least from what I've seen, they know how to close it out. So they're trying to target ban these champions that can help snowball that. You got Darius, you got Amumu taken out, and Victor Zed. So obviously they're trying to help Envious on that Corki have a little bit more safety in that lane, because Victor is such a strong champion, scales really well, but Zed, also that hard assassin, is going to be able to take out probably the Zeri too, take out the Lulu. Like, there's a lot of squishy so far, as the Poppy is actually being locked in, and I really like this.
Yeah, I really like the Poppy for a few reasons. Not obvious, like, more obviously, it's the counter pick to all 3 champs that blue side have shown. Every single one has crucial dashes. It's also really nice because it's a flex pick pike. So blue side still don't have the option to go, well, is that top or is that jungle? So they're still forced to blind no matter what. Usually you're kind of forced to blind on red side on your R4. Go, okay, who's it going to be? Is it going to be mid or top? Is it going to be jungle? Is it going to be support? Whatever it is. They find a flex pick in the Poppy, which makes it drafting that much harder for blue side. So they have to opt for their most strong blind. Right now that's a Nivea mid, which is interesting. Obviously not a blind because the Corki was shown earlier. Priority for Envious. Me. Top lane now, you have to blind, which is hard because Imposter is someone, like we mentioned, who doesn't want a weak side. So he has the potential to be counterpicked by Arrow. Opts for the set. Really interesting. I like it because Jax is open and Set is really strong into the Jax, especially in the early game. Really strong with the Sejuani as well. The lockdown to make sure that that Haymaker actually hits from the Set is really, really important. And so much CC I'm actually looking at as well on the blue side. If one ability gets hit onto anyone, whether it's the Zeri, whether it's the Corki, you're not moving for a long, long time, as Aatrox is actually locked in as the answer into Set. Interesting.
What are your thoughts on that Aatrox into Set? I feel like Aatrox took a big step back, even in pro play. I think, what happened to him? Did he get nerfed? I think it was just the itemizations, the items just got nerfed on him is the reason why he sort of stopped being so crucial. But again, I'm looking... I'm not going to say a drafted. I'm not going to fall into your caster curse where you got called out, and I was actually going to say that blue side was looking really strong, but I'm feeling blue has got a really big thing going for them. They've got the early game. They also have the mid game. They have the late game. But at the same time, red, if they don't get taken advantage of and red just gets a free sort of lane, which I doubt they're going to get, red can push pretty hard mid to late and really contest objectives, which is where these fights are going to be highly around. purely because both teams will want them. I think as the game goes on, both teams want a team fight. I'm curious to see how the little micro interactions start to come out. But what are your thoughts? What lane do you think is going to have the most impact here?
Yeah,
Casual.
it's tricky. I mean, the question of most impact is really, really hard because it depends on so much. And on both sides, we're looking at a lot of snowballing that can happen. You've got two
Mm,
jungles that want to play aggressive and they want to play for lanes as well. Neither Sejuani nor Poppy want to play for themselves, right? Which is really interesting because you go, okay, well, what were they paired with? So on blue side, you've paired a ganking jungler with something like the Sejuani and the Nautilus, right? Really, really great gank setup. So
mm,
that's where I'd like to see Blazon play for, is his mid and his bot. Ideally, the set should be winning into the Aatrox anyway. Yes, he did blind, but the fact of the matter is, like you mentioned, Pike, Aatrox is in such a terrible spot. As an Aatrox
mm,
main myself, it makes me really, really sad. This champion has been put in the dirt, and it makes sense, right? It was so dominant for so long. So it's going to be really tricky because while, yes, Aatrox as a champion is really poor, Aerodynamic has always preferred it, and when he rotated back to top lane, it was Irelia Aatrox every game. Like, that
mm,
was his bread and butter. So he's gone for comfort. And we talked about sort of before the cameras got rolling, Pike, that comfort is so, so important at this level of
mm,
play. And I wonder if Imposter might have fell into that imposter syndrome, had to blind pick and goes, okay, I'm just going to pick something I don't play because I'm going to smash him anyway. Like, I'm the greatest. Like, I don't care. I'll just play whatever. I even fall into that mindset sometimes as a top laner as well. And you can end up shooting yourself in the foot. But maybe I'm getting a
mm.
bit too ahead of myself. And I did learn my lesson, by the way. I do want to mention, I'm
Yes,
not going to call out a winner,
I
right?
am.
I was so confident last game. Hopefully you have more luck than me then. That's all I'll
I'm
say.
gonna do
I,
it.
I,
Look,
I put all of my luck onto you because it could go either way for me. And looking at the champions, but also looking at the players as well. Such an even matchup on paper.
I don't want your luck because your luck's looking terrible right now, casual.
Well, the remnants of it,
I
I
don't
guess.
want it,
Like
but no, I'm
the
gonna put my
pennies.
prediction in. I'm gonna put my prediction in. I think Blue Side have got this. And again,
Mhm.
now that I'm saying it, I feel like, oh, maybe Red Side does actually have it. But no, I'm gonna back Blue Side. I think
Go
there is
blue.
some really
Yep.
big things happening. I'm gonna trust Worgen's AD carry. If you
Yes,
if you don't if you play enough Draven, you can play really any AD carry, right?
for sure.
Maybe Aphelios is the only counter to that because their playstyle is so different.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say I trust Kaiser, I trust Worgen to be the aggressor in this game. I
Yeah.
also really want to see, I want to put benefit of the doubt, I want to put Imposter in the spotlight. I want to see him do well. But guys, we're going to take a quick intermission as we load into game. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
See you then.
I'm running away from the past I left behind. I'm looking for answers, but I'm blinded by the light. I'm lost in the music, and I stay here for the night. I promise I'll be gone in the morning, out of sight and out of mind. You know when you keep running, but your legs are standing still. It's like you're stuck in a nightmare, but you keep doing it for the thrill. Well, this is reality, you only live it once, so wake up from your dream. But just for tonight, let the lines get blurred, let your thoughts be free, let your thoughts be free.
Ladies and gentlemen, gamers of all kind, welcome back to the second game of the evening, best of ones. We got some nice teams looking. Cavalry versus Jade Dragons, looking to do some big stuff in this game. Casual, what are your thoughts? What are you feeling? I want to get your prediction now. I sort of put myself out there. I want to know.
Okay, alright. Do you put yourself out there? It's okay. I can put myself out there. Look, honestly, for fun, for entertainment, I'm going to go Redside for the win. But on a
Ooh.
condition, alright? It's not a
Okay.
conditional vote of confidence. What it is
Okay.
if this game goes slowly, okay? And I'm not talking slowly like game one where it looked good in the early game for Redside and then they just decided to fight all the time and then things snowballed, like crazy. I'm talking
Yep.
like really calm, methodical, slow-paced game. They've got
Yep.
it in the bag for me. 100% they do.
Yeah.
I'm not super confident on that prediction, but thus, there it is. And yeah, so fingers crossed. But what's harder is it's always about what do you play for and what's easier to play for. I think Blueside have a much easier win con for taking out this win. Though if Redside are able to identify and then execute theirs, it should be a clean game from them for sure.
Oh, look, I totally agree. I think Dragon's the aim of the game here, right? Like, we need to prior these bot lanes. If you can get a Zeri ahead, she's going to run the game, but she's not even looking for those early fights. She just wants to sit back, farm it out, have a Lulu protector. Whereas Kai'Sa Nautilus, they want to go. They've got their finger on the trigger, and they're just like, let's just punch it. Whether it's a Lulu constantly dying, I'm expecting a lot of kills to be down this bot side. But already, Reason's showing us such a good aggression in this mid lane. Where do you think is going to be the big outcome from this mid lane matchup? Anivia versus Corki. You don't really see it too much
No.
in games, honestly.
No, you don't see it often, and yeah, it's interesting, right? I think for the only laner that has the gank setup is the Anivia. So really, it's
Oh, but I'm so sorry, as the fight is already coming out, Soy being the wrong person. Soy, lactose intolerant the man is, as he's taken off the board first blood to Kai'Sa. This is what I was talking about. I'm sorry, I'm too correct.
No, you're too smart, too on the ball, and Sejuani is just there straight away. Boom, bang, you're on, right? And I think perfect hook from the Nautilus, and this is what I wanted to mention as you were talking about the bot lane as well, is that yes, Zeri Lulu is so strong, but Kai'Sa and Nautilus always will have the availability to go on you. Lulu is such a powerful and impactful laner and so obnoxious to play against, but usually that's only when it's Enchanter v Enchanter. You pair something with a hook, you pair something with lockdown, and suddenly it's a really, really hard game for Soy to play. And we're getting into a situation where if Sejuani is showing us how he's going to path for the rest of this game, it's just going to be a dead Lulu every single time Nautilus gets the hook. Actually, scratch that, anytime Nautilus lands any hook.
Oh, there, look, Doppel's coming down. Looking to go for an exhaust comes down too, but there's another kill. Worgen does not care. This is the Nautilus power spike. There's the double flash. There's the exhaust. There's the triple flash. One more auto attack does it, but no, it looks like Worgen actually does get the double buff. Double kill heading over to the Kai'Sa, and she's just already on fire.
Okay, so unfortunate Lulu will start this game before 4 minutes with two deaths. It's not ideal. It's not good for the scaling lane either, but really I think that was just a case of panic, right? Like, yeah, bot lane did get ganked. You go, okay, we're down one death, the game's not over, but now it's really, really tricky for them to play, and that's because they just got impatient. Hold on, speaking of patience,
But another big fight. Handing it over to Imposter there is so big, but this blue team is just on fire. They just want to go hard. Jade Dragons.
Yeah, coming out of the gate are the Jade Dragons, breathing fire all over the place, flapping their wings, letting us know that they are here not to party, but to play. And really, Worgen will sit with the gold lead, but I really want to point out Blazon. This early pathing is perfect execution. And it's rare that you see a jungler and Irons of Plat in every gank it works out. And it can be really disheartening as a laner as well, especially as envious of me in this case, to be like, well, does every time Sejuani enter a lane does someone die? Like, is it going to make it really, really difficult for them to scale into this game and to play slow? I think I pointed it out earlier. This game needs to be slow. Certainly much slower pace than it is right now. But now that that gold lead is there, almost 2k for Blueside with so little time into this game, looks like this might be a long, long game for the Cavalry side. But getting ahead of myself, we'll have to see how they go. Mid lane is a really, really big point of strength right now.
Is it going to be a long game? Is it going to be a long game, or is it going to be a hella short game? Because right now, Jade Dragons are looking real fierce. They want to close this out early. Jade Dragon haven't got a win on the board in this tournament. I think they're here to tell that they can do something. So big props that they've come back with a stronger mentality after being at the bottom of the bracket right now. So there's a good hook coming in. Worgen wants to come in too. Slow's coming out. But no, again, look, here's Blazem. He's just chilling. 420, he's laughing.
Even the Giga Chat Ignite, I don't know if you saw as well. Like, you know, Kai says what screens away, but Northern's like, I don't care, mate. I'm here to show you what's up. I am the boss in this lane. This is my bot lane, not yours. And it's so hard because, again, we talked about that suffocating that happened in game 1. We're seeing it this game, but way early, right? Like, super early on in this game, are they saying, no, this is all of ours? And they actually are going to it. I was going to mention, with a lead like this and it being so bot-centric, all of your gold on this Kai'Sa already, this should just mean early dragons for free. And that's what they'll go for, picking up this first Ocean Drake. Talk about items as well. At 6 minutes, Kai'Sa's on a pickaxe and a Noon Quiver Pike. Probably about 500 gold off the mythic, like this is a scary time for Daya. They're going to need to find some way not to make plays now, I hope they recognize, but to plug the holes, right? Like, find out where the leaks are and just send Dollop just to keep you alive. That's the game plan right now, or at least it should be in comms. How do we get bot lane at least to the mid game so we can fight? We haven't seen a lot of top lane though, which is interesting, and coincidentally where Dollop's pathing right now, Aero seems to have the lane under control despite being that kill down, especially in terms of the wave. Being able to find a crash into a melee matchup for set is incredibly difficult, although Blazem...
Well, look, unfortunately, I even sort of, I didn't want to say anything because I was like, I don't think anything's going to come of this. Envious is doing a really good job playing safe. I think he knows that he has the losing matchup here, but with an Anivia with no mana, there's no threat there. Nothing's going to happen, so I feel like I was watching all that sort of point. He's not going to get dove by that sort of stuff, so I think they were just trying to shove the wave, get Corki to potentially even back, or just at least give Anivia the back. So she's coming back with a lost chapter. That's a nice little item spike for her. Going to be able to sustain a little bit more, but do a bit more damage. Heading into level 6. But also, let's just look at the CS difference. Like, we got a Sheen on this Poppy who is just about 10 or almost 2 waves up on the Sejuani, purely because she's just been power farming.
Yeah, and it's hard, right? Because it's not what you want to see ideally coming out from the Poppy. You want to see a lot more ganks, right? You don't want to see those CS numbers. You want to see that aggression. But with things going the way that they did early, the least you can do is try and find a lead. But hold on, bot lane could be punished here, stepping up really hard.
Yeah, Blazem coming in. That's a huge bunch of CC. The Glacial Prism is just too much. And Morgan getting another kill. Feed this man some turkey because he's full of protein right now.
Yeah, it's an absolute disaster right now for Soy. Maybe in that backstory that we talked about in this pre-game, getting into his head a little bit. Yeah, it's so tricky because it's not even just that Lulu had just died right now. They're going to lose the blue buff in the bot side. Poppy is responding with the Herald, which is the correct play here, you know, to try and find some sort of trade. This is what you'll see the best teams do, Pike, is even when things go wrong, they'll trade something. Even if it's not like a positive trade or even an even trade, you've got to something. So this Herald will go, but Herald only really works when you have prior lanes to find plates for. Hold on. Okay,
that's the most fear. As someone who plays Kai'Sa, and has played with a Nautilus OTP as well, watching a Nautilus walk at you as you're like trying to back under tower is actually enough to make anyone just piss themselves, because that scares the hell out of me.
Oh, it's terrifying. I love the Nautilus, like the character model didn't even look at Zeri, so I imagine him just giving her like the side eye within the helmet as well. Just like, if you don't move, I'm coming. Like this is coming into your face. So terrifying for Daya, and even more scary because actually had to pop the cleanse in that
Dollop is coming on top. I'm so sorry to interrupt you, Casual, as there's that big showstopper coming down. They're trying to knock there's a fight down bot too. There's fights everywhere. Worgen's going for more, but can he get the big haymaker? He's under the tower. It's not enough as they do pick up the set, but Seraph Blade also takes this bot lane, fights across the map, Casual.
Yeah, it's a lot of aggression on pretty much polar opposites of the map, like you mentioned. And yes, while we talked about trades, positive or negative, still not work for Redside. There's even Envy coming incredibly low, maybe falls, actually gets the level up. Oh my god, I don't know if you saw on the right side of your screen, that level 8 just keeping him alive, because he got so low, I kept seeing it ticking and I'm like, oh my god, is this it? The minions, but just getting out on the skin of his teeth, and it's not what you want to see when everything is going so poorly everywhere else. you want to see at least some sort of area to play around. Right now, they've got nothing. Envy, though, smart to not pick up his package as well. I don't know if we're noting this little bit of micro thing with Corki is you can't just walk around with package forever, right? It does have a cooldown. You don't need to use it at some point. So in a game where you're not going to be making any plays for, I would argue, the next 10 to 15 minutes, ideally, if you can, save it for that big fight, because it is such a big playmaking tool, isn't it? Like, even if you are like 4K gold behind, it's still such a ridiculous ability if you find that choke point. So that's still definitely a point of contention, a point of strength that they can have if this Corki can get strong. But right now, yeah, talk about that bot lane play. Yes, Cavalry find the kill on the opposite end, but the fact that they can just dive between the turrets like that,
they're looking aggressive. I like the rotations here, but just caught out on good vision.
Yeah, and they've got numbers as well, which is really, really important. Envy does have the ability to poke them out, and that's because of vision as well. So pretty miraculous, actually, given the state of bot lane, that Redside even have some semblance of control of the bot side river. Dragon is just about to spawn, about 5 seconds to go on that. So Blueside, if they do want to contest, will be able to move in. My fear, though, is yes, they can set up early Pike, but the fact that they are so far behind means that they can just walk in and take everything with absolutely no fear of any repercussions.
Look, it's kind of nice to see that Blueside is sort of still controlling this map, but you can't deny that Red Team is still making proactive moves. Even if it is just vision and it gets cleared out, they still know that they're on this dragon right now. But Poppy being up at the top side where it's all cleared out, potentially looking for a dive on this set, is probably the optimum play. Trying to land that CC, trying to land some damage off, as they do secure the dragon. But it comes to show, well, there's the Rift Herald actually being spawned. Okay, and now they're looking to really secure this one, as it could be the CC chain. As it goes down, they do secure the kill, and the Rift Herald has gone through. Very nicely played coming out from Dollop there.
Yeah, I was a bit scared about that dive. I didn't think they could do it because they just needed to make sure that they landed the CC perfectly and chained it. So Set has no way to, use the Haymaker to, to get his ultimate off, make sure that he can be unstoppable just that 1 second, but they do. They land it perfectly. Set cannot move, and so they'll secure it. The only issue with that play, I think, is that they're still going to lose first turret because they popped the Herald early.
Yep.
Probably because of how bot lane's gone, they probably lose the first turret anyway, so still good to get some plates. Only one plate, I think, left on top lane, and that is a lead that they can slowly play around. And we're actually seeing, at this point in the last game, the gold lead was even, but in terms of snowballing, Redside are actually staying into it a lot more than I thought they would, given how those early levels went. Really, to be only 3k gold behind into a 5-0 closer, it's not the worst case. Oh, great dodge.
Nice little dodge from Envy there, as Blazin wanted to use that Glacial Prism to lock him down. Just imagine these two Freljordian champions, just all the CC that they can muster onto a Corki. You're going to be popping the cork on that one.
Yeah, you do. Lawmaster Pike coming in clutch there. Thank you very much.
I got you, baby.
And again, really, it just is that thing, right? You've got to dodge the first one, and hopefully you kind of just pray at that point, because it's not like they've got one bit of CC. They've got all the CC, and they've got it on absolutely everyone except Kai'Sa. So it is a scary time to be in a mobile carry. But if you play at range, you're usually fine, and that's what Envy's doing such a good job of, as I doubt anything can happen from this top play, but you can see that Dollop's definitely got a game plan in mind, and it's often what you have to do as a jungler, right? If bot lane suddenly is just so out of the game, you go, I'm really sorry, guys, don't take it personally, but I've just got to go elsewhere. I just got to go home. I got to go top. I got to go mid. I got to go anywhere else except you guys, because there is just no way to play. Here comes Seraphic Blade.
And it comes down, Dollop wants to come into this too, but they're looking for the fight. Good little stun comes out. Corki with that big package. It's just not going to hit. It's Marcus Morgan. Gets shut down. It's a beautiful play coming from this Seri, who's now coming online. 2 kills coming out. She's still going. Daya absolutely crushing it.
Yeah, Daya's done a fantastic job. Actually, very, very close to missing that ultimate. Pops it really early. Does land on the Nautilus, so he gets to stack the passive as the rest of his team just clutch it up completely. You've got to point out Envious of Me, who completely cut off Seraphic Blade from joining his team. And,
I'm so sorry, there's a big showstopper. There's the big hammer, knocking him out of the fight.
Okay.
That was a bit of a weird one. I feel like they should have just fought that one out, as they're just contesting a blue buff.
I think Seth might be a little bit happy with that circumstance. Mike might be, oh god, I thought I was dead. Okay, Dollop, thank you very much. But regardless, you know, not that much of a negative because the fact that they were able to find that fight is just amazing. Yeah, Dollop will lose out on this cheeky invade, trying to punish that little bit more. But scrap that. What an amazing fight. Zeri out of nowhere, Pike, 3-1, cashing in on the shutdown as well is insane. So just fantastic work. I mean, Daya is really, really going to be looking like he can carry these fights. And that was always the potential looking at this draft in my head, Pike. I thought, look, if Zeri does get a lead, they're really, really immobile on the side of the blue team. And they're also very, very short range. Even Anivia is one of the shortest range control mages in the game.
Yeah.
You know, outside of the ultimate, you do need to be relatively close to deal that, you know, that big chunk of damage, do what you want to do in these fights. And so Zeri would love that. Love that there's a front line to just slowly stack up.
I'm so sorry. Another big fight breaking out in the mid lane as the Rift Herald summoned does cause it. But Poppy's looking to go straight back in. Gets the Nautilus. Can they do a little bit more? There's no Glacial Prism available. There's so much damage coming out though as they just get blown up. Envious is on the board now. This team's responding so well.
Yeah, and it can happen, can't it? Just one bad fight. It's like the Joker, Pike. One bad day and it can all go wrong and it can all snowball in the complete opposite way. And Morgan's need to come up with a plan soon, right? Here's the guy with the gold. It's that situation where it's like, okay, we put every resource onto you. We're kind of trolling now. So can you carry us, please? Like, come on. Like, give me a little bit of something. Give me a little bit of juice right now because this Kaiser, in the last couple of minutes, done very little, unable to actually impact, and that's just because the engage hasn't been on the side of blue team, Pike. And when it has, that Glacial Prism has gone wide. As soon as it does, as soon as that misses, it looks like Blueside are really, really confused. It looks like Jade Dragons are unsure whether they want to continue the fight or whether they want to back off. And into something like a Zeri and a Corki, you need to be decisive because otherwise you're just getting kited and poked down.
Yeah, that's it.
And it's impossible. So I need to see quicker and more decisive decision making out of Blueside right now because sitting and letting Pike just farm the side lane and Kaiser just sit there doing nothing with the gold lead, it's not going to work for them. They're going to get outscaled.
You know what they need? You know what they need to do? And I can be real blunt about this, is if they miss the CC and they don't get the fight, as another big fighter to start talking and oh my god, Kaiser just blown up too. Showstopper goes down as Imposters trying to take on Aerodynamic, but no, it's not the Daft Punk song, it's a League of Legends player as Aerodynamic is now running away. He's popped the World Ender. Can he do this? The flash going for it. Imposters taken out. This man called himself the GOAT, and all he ends up being is a lamb. As they're looking for this drag, as the air is coming up even stronger.
Yeah,
it's an air soul.
Yeah, it's an air soul, and so really important to take this as well because you're not only individually for your team, the air drag doesn't matter that much, but we might be talking too soon. A Spike could steal.
And that is so big as they do secure it, but they're trying to get blazing, trying to hand this one over as Dollop does pick it up, and they could pick up a bot tier tower for their troubles too.
Both junglers actually missing smite there, but Envy, the clutch master, let's just call it what it is. You know, first that play in the mid lane, turning this game on its head, and then securing the Drake as well. Oh, so important, because that could have been soul point for Blueside, and maybe that would have been their win con. Regardless, let's not talk about hypotheticals. They ain't happening.
Wait, let's quickly talk about that gold changeover, right? Like, how big was the gold lead for Blueside? The Jade Dragon were looking, what, 4 or 5k up early on? That has now swung to almost a 500 gold lead now going over to the Cavalry. Oh, no, you're caught out there, mate. I'm so sorry.
Seraphic.
Envy is so strong right now. He can keep going. Seraphic Blade just gets blown up. No shit. Wait, you missed it. Nah, good work, Envious. Well done. GG's.
Can't miss those autos, thank Christ, for Envy, because we're missing everything else. But anyway, no. Good play, good pick. But it just goes to what I'm saying, like, they're lost all of a sudden. It's that case of early game, there was such a plan, it felt. Like, it was so... I think I even used the analogy of a surgeon. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was...
Yeah.
They knew what they were doing. It seemed so calculated. All of a sudden, things go slightly wrong, and everything's falling apart. I don't know what you call that. I don't know what the reasons are, and we won't know until the post-game, until we get into the heads of these players. But right now, talking about their heads, they need to keep them together. They need to not lose their cool, because there still is a way into this game. You've got a very free-farmed and fed Anivia, despite being 0-0 right now, despite being that emergency number, still actually has a lot of availability in these fights, a lot of ways to get in. But yeah, the gold lead, it's such an important point too, because to come from like so far down, yes, it's more than 5k, isn't it? Not 5k, 500. It's about a k.
Yeah, getting close.
To be 1k up, like that is just wild in this game. Considering they were what, 3 4. Like, so impressive to come back, and still relatively early in this game. It's not like they fell behind early, waited to 30 minutes, and now they're strong. We're only 20 minutes in, Pike. I feel like we've watched a 50-minute game, and we haven't even hit the 20-minute mark.
Mate, and as the 20-minute mark approaches, we are starting to see Baron about to spawn itself. But what team's going to get that prior? And right now, I think it is the caster curse. I think Jade Dragon was just looking too good that I sort of said, hey, maybe we back them. And now they're just struggling. I feel like Worgen just isn't getting the leash that he needs, or at least Worgen's getting caught out in situations he really shouldn't be, because right now he is that team's damage. You can see he does have the Navori blade, so he does have quite a strong item, but you're also seeing a Immortal Shield Bow plus a Hurricane on top of this Seri. But there's the engage as we start talking about it. There goes a big wall as it knocks them back. It's only Reasons here trying to do as much damage as that damage is coming down. Big shutdown. Reasons no longer on that 000. He is 100, and that's a nice little pick for Blueside.
Yeah, it's awesome, actually.
As they're still going, Glacial Prism lands, the flush goes out, Killer Instinct even more. As I say it, Jade Dragon turned this game on their head, and they're looking at a Baron.
Yeah, they definitely could be looking at a Baron. Do they have the damage for it? Surely with a Fed Kaiser and a Nivi, you do the Leandros as well, so we'll burn this Baron down even faster. Really, really well played, and I think the Cavalry just sort of panicked right there on the engage. They needed, like we've talked about, to play slower, to sort of be a little bit more calm. Dollop jumps in just a tad too early. His team unable to follow up crucially because of that Ice Wall from Anivia means that he's cut off. Even though, yes, he lands a fantastic ultimate to knock everyone away, unfortunately, he's stuck there, takes too much damage, falls. That means the Baron, on top of that, and this is me, ends up getting caught. Blazem hits his first Glacial Prism of the game, and what an oh-so-important one. The sad reality, Pike, the Cavalry did such an amazing job to come back. They did almost too good of a job, because then they had bounties on all of their champions.
Yeah.
And Blueside's now cashed in again. Now they have the bounties. Like, this bounty system, don't even get me started. What a ridiculous concept. And this game is the bread and butter for why. However, now we're not looking at one side being favorites or not right now. This is really, really even as this game has been thus far. And it's so interesting that it's not that anyone's outplaying each other. They're almost outplaying themselves.
Yeah, that's actually what I was about to say. Is it feels like the team that makes the mistake is the team that is getting hit the hardest. Both these teams are making mistakes. Neither team's really doing anything correct in the right. I'm trying to say it in the most political way possible, but like Envious shouldn't be allowed to just poke out this Anivia. They just flush it out as they go for a little bit more, and Zeri's just on top of Blaze and Envious, and means also big haymaker taking him out. Dollop's out here too, getting blown up. 2 Reasons. This team's just so tanky now. They're strong enough to fake it as Aerodynamic is coming in for this fight. Dayers is trying to do everything he can. Double kill heading over. 2 Reasons, and they can just go for the ace. The Baron buff could be the end of the game as Jade Dragon come back with a huge ace.
Yeah, that's an amazing team fight coming out of Jade Dragons. That loss, the mispositioning, just the lack of synergy from Cavalry. I've just got to call a spade in that fight. It seemed like we were just dying one by one. Imposter, actually, you have to give credit to him, did an amazing job of not only knocking down Envy in that fight, but just such a disruptor. And that's how you want to see Set played. He's getting in the middle, getting in the thick of things, the CC, the damage, the peeling away. And what it meant by disrupting that team fight from Imposter is that Daya didn't get to play the game. And you want to talk about one person being the goal. For Blueside, it's obviously this Kaiser. Daya really is their way to carry these fights. So that's what we saw earlier in the mid lane. He was out of that fight. I don't even know if I saw him on my screen, Pike, up until the point that he was dead. And that just goes to show you how well that Jade Dragon spaced. And of course they were going to win that 5v5. And not only such an amazing Baron play, they're going to lose the inhib as well.
Oh look, the inhib going down there is so big for Blueside. I feel like it's the main objective that they've really needed to be able to snowball this game a bit more, because that's what we've been seeing. Both these teams just sort of struggling for a little bit here, there, everywhere, and Seraphic Blade as becoming so big, and Aerodynamic could be the one caught out as he's trying to turn onto this Kaiser. Now the damage is coming down. A little bit more. Killer Instinct does dodge it out, doesn't get the final hit. Now Dollop is taken low. Can they be able to do a little bit more? Kaiser just needs to walk in and last hit as Reasons does pick it up, and Aerodynamic isn't even a concern as Sejuani is right there trying to lock him down, trying to do as much as she can. There goes the little bit of damage. The wall comes up. Worgen picks it up, and now top lane seems to be the objective as Red Team's just running down mid.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think Worgen really feeling himself right now. Feeling himself so much that it's actually built incorrectly on Kaiser. He's whipped out the Nash's Tooth, which is really interesting because unless you're building more AP, which you shouldn't be since you're building AD Kai'Sa. We're now in a situation where we're getting a bit of some mixed signals, but we're so fed it doesn't matter. Like, the fact that, like, he's so fed, he can move around these fights so quickly. This Navori, such an important... You want to talk about... I think you mentioned earlier, was it game 1? About how those AD carry changes have really made certain AD carries so strong. Kai'Sa's so, you know, I hate to point out the negative because Worgen has played so well, but we're getting to a point now that, Cavalry's shown us they can come back, but we're getting to a point that unless they sort of start to play a bit more together, recognize their win con, there's too much control now on for Jade Dragons. And I'm not even talking about control in terms of vision. I'm just talking about the way they play fights, the CC, the peel. It's an AD carry's dream. Hold on.
There's a big fight as the wall does come up, trying to do something. Blazin is still just here, just trying to soak up everything he can as the team's just not in this fight. What is going on as the Poppy's trying to do a little bit with that hammer? Good kill coming out from Reasons as the depth touch does go onto Envious, but look at that wall. It does everything you needed to do as Imposter takes out the dollop, and it's just a dollop of cream at this point as they're trying to end out this game. And all they need to do is just play it smart and wait for the hard engages as they're looking at the top tier turret, third tier. But it looks like they want to keep going. Throwing down, make sure the wall comes up.
He'll try his best, right, to defend, but with that pressure, with the option for Seraphic Blade to hit you, as we talked about, you get hit by one ability and you're just gone. And at this point in the game, you have to play reserve.
Take the inhib.
Step up.
Why didn't they just take the inhib though, bro? It was half health. They're so strong.
Maybe? I mean, Worgen doesn't have mana, but they do have really high health bars. It is an interesting call. I think Reasons you can even see pinging saying, guys, we can stay to play. Maybe they don't want to. There is a timer on Baron that is spawning under a minute. Maybe they'd like to set up the bat. They don't want to risk it. I am on your side, though. I think we can just get that for free. Maybe they don't recognize they're as strong as they are, you know? As casters, we have the luxury of the gold lead, don't we? We have the luxury of seeing everything from that bird's eye view. But it's tricky because even in that fight as well, yes, Cavalry didn't engage, but Dai wasn't able to fight because he was clearing mid. Without the Zeri, things are hard. With the Zeri, things still look pretty impossible. So it's going to have to be Clutch Master Envy to pull something out of his magic hat.
Look, he hasn't got the Ludens yet, though, unfortunately. So he's got a lot of damage, but it's just not the damage they need. We really need to see that full AP damage coming out. But what can you do when you've got an open mid and this team just wants to shred this Baron? Because that's what they're going to do.
Yeah,
look at it go.
We talked about what they don't have. What they do have is wave clear. So, yeah, you don't want to be giving this Baron away. I'd imagine
this could be the fight as they do get the Baron. Blue team wants to just take Dollop out of this game now. They did so well. Really good commendation to Dollop there, who tried to get that, but just sadly couldn't finish it off. But the Killer Instinct, that's aggressive. Look at like Worgen does not want to end this game without a fight, and it looks like he can be taken pretty low. But oh my god, you got the Wild Growth and the Poly out of Soy. Mate, not ideal, as it looks like they want to walk down this mid. That's the inhib they were probably waiting for.
Yeah, they were, and I think with Baron now, we should be looking at the end of this game. What a valiant effort out of Cavalry as
it looks like they get a big showstopper. Worgen just doing so much, but they do get it. But the inhib actually just came back up. You gotta be joking. They're actually in this fight, but the inhib has actually spawned, and they've got to reset the waves for it to fix itself up. But all they can do is take it. Hopefully they can take another one. There's the good hook coming out, looking for a little bit more. Dollop is in the line side, taken too slow. Does get taken out, but here's Envious. He takes out Worgen. It's a good flash, but it's not enough from a Nautilus, as they do get the haymaker off. And look at Blazin, and this could actually be the fight that slightly turns it around. There's not much you can do, but boy, they didn't end the game. That's for sure.
Yeah, they don't end, and so Cavalry get to last that little bit longer. But what are they looking at? They're looking at Scrap Spike right now. Their base completely opened up, and it's just so hard. Yes, Luden's now finally, as you mentioned, completed for Corki. He will be stronger in these fights. It's just difficult though, because they're not actually giving them any room to breathe, the Jade Dragons. They're not letting them play fights at the pace that they want. And so it just means things like Dragon. It means that the Soul is now gone. It means every Baron is difficult to play for. They can't even walk into their jungle. You can see Lulu and Poppy. They know they're on Dragon, but it's still just so terrifying to walk in. Like, these Nautilus hooks don't look like they're hitting. They're magnetized, if anything. Makes it terribly tricky to just get even that little bit of scaling back onto as this game continues. Ticks over close to the 30-minute mark. Items, it's not just the Ludens, right? We're looking at, Poppy's got 2 items right now. Aatrox almost will have his Hex Drinker completed, and of course the Navori for Zeri. So fights are possible. Like, don't get me wrong, they definitely can fight them. It's just going to need some incredible execution, and I'll be frank, some really, really poor positioning out of Jade Dragons to find something, if anything.
I'll be honest, I don't think they can fight them because you got Rabadons plus Leandre's a Seraph's Embrace on that Anivia. And like honestly,
so
Reasons is
strong.
playing so well this game. He has not died once. 506.
Really
this man
well.
has had his feet dipped in the honey pot this whole time, and he's just been laughing as his just look at that wave management. He can just shove it out. He's got no problems. All they need to worry about is Envious and how much damage he's going to put out. But it's all easy breezy. L'Oreal, Cover Girl, we're going for some big plays as they take the next tower. There's one more tower to go, and they're just looking for these big fights. Wall does actually block off Imposter as he wanted to get into that, and just take the inhib, take the game, ends it out. You can just do it, it's fine.
Just do it nice and slow, you know what I mean?
But they can go for this fight as they do get the hook coming back in. Dollop, there goes. Aerodynamic with the depth charge. They're going for a little bit of the silence. They're going for a little bit of damage. But there's the big haymaker going through. Seraph is actually taking out 2. Showstopper comes down. That's a double kill. Looking for the triple. Wild growth is enough. It's looking to take them up a little bit more. But look, he's taken so low. But Reasons actually picks it up as they lock Envious inside as it's a triple. They're looking to finish it off. The game's over. And there's not much more you can say about it. Jade Dragons, the underdogs of this series, taking home a big win and showing they have nothing to lose but wins.
No, Jade Dragons will complete that game, Pike. Well played to them. Played fantastically, honestly. That early game, if anything, you have to mention that. That has to be the biggest point. Like, so clean there. And yes, while mid-game, things did falter just that little bit, they picked it back up. They made sure not to tilt, continued on, played some really strong and aggressive plays around those objective timers to secure things like the Baron, secure things like the Sol. And from that point, you've just got to walk in, play it slow, play it calculated, find the win. And just like the team we saw before with the absolute smashing out of Starcasters, while it wasn't as clean of a win, they're going to be heading into group stage with that same level of confidence and happiness as they come in on a bit of a high.
Mate, like it's nice to see teams that, like, even though they were the underdogs that game, they went in with a plan. Like you could see their plan and they executed. Like that's the difference, right? Is you need to have these teams that can go in and say, okay, this is what we want to do. This is our team comp. We're going in hard. And that's what you just have to do it. So I feel like it was a bit harder for team 2, which was the Cavalry, who were just weren't able to get online properly. Big props to Envious though for really doing a lot of damage. 34,000 damage compared to the next person on his team, which was Daya at 17. So Envious was doing his best to really keep his team together, right? And it just felt like they couldn't follow up as much. They were getting caught out, but can we just talk really quickly before we get into the interview with our MVP? I just want to talk about really quick the swing of gold lead, right? How weird was that? It went like it was really strong at the start, swapped over to the other team for about a K or so, and then bam, hit them with like a 10K gold lead in return. Be like, nah, you want to try and beat us? We're just gonna stop you from that.
It's weird, right?
We do actually have an interview. Sorry to cut you off there, Casual. We have an interview with Worgen, who was the AD carry, which was the Kaiser of that game. Worgen, how you doing, mate? Congrats on the MVP. How was that game for you?
MVP? I didn't know till now.
You didn't know? Well, congratulations, mate. You are.
Thank you. Appreciate
it.
Surprise.
Woo! Mate, how'd you find that game? Did you have a good time in that? How'd you find it? How'd you find the synergy with your team?
I thought it was actually pretty good. Having new support is obviously something to get used to, but it felt really good. So, you
guys seem to have some really good synergy there. Like we know Kaiser Nautilus is such a staple sort of bot lane, really aggressive, throughout all elos, really. How have you sort of found it in your time? Like obviously you said it's a new support. Like, is this something you feel really comfortable in? Is there something else you'd like to maybe try with Seraphic Blade? Well, what are your thoughts on that?
I think Seraphic Blade is probably one of the best supports I've played with. I've been in a few different orgs, but he's quite good. I'm happy with all his engage. I want to see him on Karma as well. I think he could be really good at that. But yeah, all round, I think he's quite a good addition to the team.
Yeah, very nice. Now, Casual, do you have anything for Worgen while you got him?
Yeah, I mean, congrats. It was a really, really strong game. I mean, we very, very few things I think to sort of criticize or to comment on. I think especially the early game was really, really impressive. I think my question's in two parts. First, it's individually. I want to ask you about how you think you are as a player. You mentioned your support you think is the best out of all the other supports. Where do you see yourself sort of fit in within the other 80 carries? So that's the first part of the question. So I'll get you an answer to that, and then I'll give you my second part.
Yeah, I'll just get off the list of them because
Sure,
I
the
know
tier
we've had a
list. Yeah.
few. I know we've had a few
There
swaps
have been a
around
few
with all the
swaps around.
different
Yeah.
players and stuff, so
Mm.
new stuff to get used to.
I guess
So
while
I
you're
think
getting
after a
that up,
performance like that,
yeah.
yeah.
No, I think I want to just
Go
quickly
for it.
while you're getting that, why the Nash's tooth is my big question. I feel like that hasn't been as someone who plays
I was
Kaiser
going to
as
mention
well.
it.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about it. Like, what was your thought process on the Nashes while we're getting up these tier lists on the other 80 carries?
Um, MV was pissing me off with his constant rockets, and I was like, I want to W spam you. Goodbye.
Okay.
You know what? Spite. That's the best answer you could
Yeah,
get.
Okay, fair enough. Have you got that tier list up for us, Morgan?
I do, I do.
All right. So the question was, how do you see yourself fitting? You can say within the tier list, are you the best? But also, what are your opinions on the other 80 carries in the standings where they are now?
Um, where they are now, I would
Got it.
say it's until today I hadn't seen Daya play.
Mm.
Yeah, sure. What were your
He,
thoughts on him?
he seemed to play like team fights well.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, obviously the laning was really hard for him. They were just kind of getting like engaged on repeat. Like
Yeah.
that would be hard for anyone. So it's hard to really like get a very good gauge of
Sure.
how
Yeah.
someone is in lane. Um, so would like to see more. I know this is like the last week,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Mm.
I would like to see more of him. I can't really like give a crazy good analysis.
No,
Uh,
that's great.
I felt like most of the ADCs though in the whole trials were actually quite strong.
Cool.
Um, generally,
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
I would still,
Nice.
I don't know. It's hard to say that I'm the best or whatever, but yeah,
Do you
Oh,
feel
I'd
like you
after
say
have
I'm
that
high up.
confidence? Do you have that confidence? Like,
Yeah,
surely after
sure.
that game.
Let's go. I'm the best.
ah,
Yeah,
that's
There
what
you
we
go.
like
there it
hearing.
is. That's what we wanted.
I want
Very
to see
good.
that
No,
Draven, baby. Bring out that
yeah, that's
Draven.
it. That's it. That's it. My second
Razy.
part. Yeah,
Yeah, I
go
was
go
gonna
go go.
say, Razy ranked me S in the very first tier list, so I guess
Okay.
I have to trust him, right? So
Yeah, you do. I mean, I mentioned that the tier list is gospel, right, Park? So if that's not the
Mm.
evidence that God is real and that Razy is God, I mean, what else is there? No,
hundred
but what I
percent.
am really curious, Morgan, is so that's obviously you as an individual, as an AD carry. In terms of your team, we're heading into the groups, we're heading into this next big part of these trials, and of this tournament in general. How do you see your team faring? I haven't seen all of your games together. This was clearly a really, really strong showing, but we've also seen a lot of other strong teams play tonight. So how do you think you guys are actually going to come into the later stages of this tournament? Do you think you'll take it all the way?
I think we have a very good chance. I think we're like underrated, definitely.
Okay.
I thought Red was quite a strong addition to Starcasters, so like
Mm-hmm.
they were actually not looking too strong.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they still beat us before, but I didn't think they were like crazy strong
Mm-hmm.
before they had him, but he looks like quite a strong addition, to be honest.
Mm.
He certainly is. So I love the humbleness, Pike, out of Worgen, but also the confidence now. You know, it seems like you're not a very confident guy, Worgen, in terms of your AD carry performance. So can you please get rid of that? Because this
Yeah.
game tonight, you did a fantastic job, and really looking forward to seeing you pop off again. So thanks so much for coming in for the interview and giving us that really
Alright,
important
thank you,
insight
Thank
into
Casual.
our
you.
MVP for tonight.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, mate. Well,
Were
guys,
there
what, no,
were there any
what?
more questions or?
Any more
Do you have any,
questions?
Pike?
I think I'm pretty good. Like, I wanted to know
Satisfied?
what you could have done a bit cleaner in that game is maybe the only thing I
Ooh.
wanted to discuss.
Um,
Like,
I could have. I really wanted that first death to exhaust the Corki, but
mhm.
Oh, yeah.
apparently my fingers aren't what they used to be, and wasn't able to find him. I guess. So I don't know
Happens.
how that happened, but yeah.
Mate,
And there was another death, and then just my flash at the end was like pretty random.
oh,
Uh,
look, it was the end of the game though, man. Like the game was sort of done by then. I think just
yeah,
flash for showmanship, right? Like just
Yeah.
it's to assert dominance.
yeah. Don't want to pull the lift and save it for next game, right?
Yeah, right. Well, thank you so much, man. Really appreciate you
Thank
coming
you.
out. Congratulations on the MVP of that game. You played exceptional. We'll talk to you soon.
Before I go, I just wanted
Yeah.
to thank Razy, all the behind the scenes staff. You casters did a great job. My team as well, the coaches, uh, just everyone. Big thank you.
Awesome.
Oh,
No
that's
stress
awesome,
at all,
man.
man.
Thank
Lots
you.
of love.
Appreciate that. Well, guys, that brings us to the end of the night as we moving on into the group stage. Awesome games tonight, casual. Awesome
Really good.
games.
Really good. Yeah, I'm super satisfied. Talk about like a nice, hearty, healthy meal. If we were gonna get something like that in terms of a League of Legends game, I wouldn't cook up anything else. We let these guys cook. We trusted them, Pike, and boy did they serve up a dish. So really, really well played to them. I think the biggest point tonight for me is the Starcasters. Yes, that wasn't the game we just saw, but they came out swinging, didn't they?
Yeah,
Like, what a
absolutely.
scary sight for these other players within these trials. So they're going to be something to really, really watch out for. But they're not the only ones. It's rare you see a tournament where almost all of the teams could really go head to head with each other on
Mm.
paper. Makes it so much more exciting, right? There's no standout for me. There are a few great individual players, but we're seeing really, really great team play. What an accreditation to Mcom for bringing in a bunch of individuals and already in the trials, Pike, they're not even real teams
Not even
yet.
the real games. I
Do you
know,
know what I
like,
mean? And they're
it's the
already
build
playing.
up.
Yeah,
This is the
it's crazy.
suspense.
It's
Mate,
seriously crazy.
this is what I was talking about before we even started casting these games, is the talent that is coming out of Oceania is starting to evolve
It's
so
awesome.
quickly, so rapidly, that if they don't give us an OCS, and yes, I'm calling you out, LCO, we demand an OCS because we know we've got the goods, we've got the players, we've got the games. Just give us some love. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
But I would just like to end it off there. I would just like a big shout out to, again, Mcom for hosting such an awesome little trial as we move into groups. Big shout out to, again, Racy as well for being the top tier of all this, making sure everything's moving ahead smoothly. And big shout out to my good friend Casual here, who did an awesome night casting. It was actually our first time casting together, Casual,
First
wasn't it?
official time.
Yeah.
Yeah, first official time. It's always so fun. This has been a long time coming, so I absolutely loved it. Thank you so much. Yeah, to the behind the scenes guys, but to you, mate. Yeah, it was a super fun night, and hopefully we get a lot more as we head into groups.
Mate, I cannot wait. And
Oh
so, big
man,
shout. What? What? What?
get out of here.
What?
You're not allowed to
I know.
talk.
And then a big shout out. A
Oh,
big
thank
shout
you.
out to Mayhem too, as he's talking to us in our ear, just doing an awesome job with these broadcasts too, doing an absolute job. Guys, we'd like to thank you all on behalf of Mcom and the Oceanic region for tonight. Until next time, we have been Casual and Papa Pike, and we'll see you at the next one. Take it
guys.
easy.
I'm running away from the past I left behind. I'm looking for answers, but I'm blinded by the light. I'm lost in the music, and I stay here for the night. I promise I'll be gone in the morning, out of sight and out of mind. You know when you keep running, but your legs are standing still. It's like you're stuck in a nightmare, but you keep doing it for the thrill. Well, this is reality, you only live it once, so wake up from your dream. But just for tonight, let the lines get blurred, let your thoughts be free, let your thoughts